Chapter 945. Let's go together then, Zhou Jinchun quickly said. Chu Li shook his head. I'll go alone. There's strength in numbers, Zhou Jinchun said. Chu Li glanced at him. You're a burden now. You'll only cause trouble if you go. Both Zhou Jinchun and Gxin were suffering from the aftereffects of the secret skill. Their cultivation levels were almost crippled, so they could not fight anyone. When Mo Qianjun saw this, he feigned ignorance and even thanked them generously before asking them to leave. If anything happened to them here, he would be implicated as well. You! Zhou Jinchun stared at him angrily. Chu Li stared back at him. Zhou Jinchun was annoyed. All right, I'm a burden, all right? Can you do it yourself? Piece of cake, Chu Li said. Gxin was annoyed too. He scoffed. Why are you still dawdling if you can find Junior Sister Li? He could have found Junior Sister Li, but he did not. Instead, he was dawdling and did not care about Junior Sister Li's life at all. How detestable. It's not a big deal. I need to find out what altar leader Mo is up to. Don't let anyone else attack us. Chu Li scoffed. This altar leader Mo. Gxin gritted his teeth. He recalled Mo Qianjuan's sinister and vicious behavior and was worried about Li Rulan. He quickly said, Hurry up and go. Chu Li glared at him angrily. Take out all your energy-cultivating pills. Zhou Jinchun and Gxin each took out 2 bottles and passed them to him. They knew that he really needed the energy pills. His cultivation level was not high enough. Without the energy pills, his inner energy would dry up and he would not be able to continue. Wait for the good news. Chu Li waved his hand and strode out of the town defense prefecture. He left Falling Autumn City and went to the Taoist temple 50 miles away. He was extremely fast. He scanned the surroundings with the omniscient mirror and soon saw Li Rulan in his mind. Under the bright and beautiful sunlight, the ancient Taoist temple seemed to be filled with vitality. Li Rulan was sitting in front of a stone table in the front yard of the temple. Wen Tingdao was sitting opposite her. Wen Tingdao gave a fist salute and smiled. Miss Li, we invited you here as a guest. We mean no harm. Is this how you invite me? Li Rulan sneered. You use senior brother Ji to lure me here. Is this how you treat your guests? She received a letter in the middle of the night and it contained a piece of Gxin's jade pendant. She panicked out of concern and chased after the person who delivered the letter. She chased the person for 25 miles before she arrived at this Taoist temple and saw Wen Tingdao there. She knew that she had been tricked the moment she saw Wen Tingdao. Wen Tingdao waved his folding fan and smiled. If I didn't do this, Lady Li wouldn't have come. It's difficult to invite her, so this is the only way. Junior brother Zhao won't agree to it. Li Rulan said calmly, You're wasting your efforts. Hee. Wen Tingdao closed his folding fan and lightly tapped his palm. Do you think we're using you to threaten Master Zhao? You're wrong. You think too lowly of us. Humph, how despicable. Li Rulan laughed mockingly. If they were not despicable, then who was? Wen Tingdao pretended not to hear her and smiled. We're inviting Lady Li to be our guest. We're not forcing you, we're just using some tricks. However, a treat is a treat, not a captive. If Lady Li doesn't like it, you can leave anytime. We won't stop you. Really? Li Rulan frowned in disbelief. Wen Tingdao smiled. Lady Li, you're free now. Li Rulan stood up and could not wait to leave. When she reached the entrance of the Taoist temple, she turned around and saw Wen Tingdao playing with his wine cup. He looked at her with a smile and had no intention of making a move. Wen Tingdao gestured for Li Rulan to go ahead. Li Rulan frowned. What are you trying to do? We're just expressing our sincerity. Wen Tingdao smiled warmly. We're exchanging the less ultimate sword technique with Master Zhao for the detachment pills. Is this sincerity? Li Rulan scoffed. Wen Tingdao smiled and nodded. Not when you can. This is sincerity. Li Rulan's charming face darkened. She immediately understood Wen Tingdao's threat. This time, he was letting her leave safely. If she did not exchange the detachment pills, she might not be able to leave the next time. Oh right, Lady Li, this is the first half of the less ultimate sword technique. Wen Tingdao took out a thin booklet and tossed it to Li Rulan. The thin booklet was carried to Li Rulan as if it was carried by an invisible hand. Li Rulan took it but did not flip through it. Wen Tingdao smiled. If Master Zhao is interested in the exchange, you can leave the detachment pills at the same place. We'll also leave the second half of the sword technique at the same place. If you're still worried, you can go over there and read the sword technique first before giving us the detachment pills. Aren't we being very sincere? Very sincere indeed. Chu Li snorted and stepped into the Taoist temple. Wen Tingdao's smile remained the same, but he frowned. He did not notice Chu Li's approach. Chu Li shook his head. Wen Tingdao, why are you playing tricks? Hand over the second half of the sword technique, and we can exchange it now. Junior brother Zhao, Li Rulan quickly said. Really? Wen Tingdao's smile widened. Chu Li scoffed. The less ultimate sword can only be exchanged for 2 detachment pills. Wen Tingdao's handsome face turned gloomy. 2 pills. Chu Li nodded. Only 2 pills. I originally wanted to give you 3 pills, but you overreached yourself. So, I can only give you 2. If you disturb Senior Sister Li again, you can only give me 1 pill. Are you kidding us? Wen Tingdao's handsome face darkened. What's the use of 2 pills? Chu Li said, if I break 1 finger, 2 pills will be enough. What about 2 fingers? Then I'll only be able to grow half of it. 4 pills, Wen Tingdao said in a deep voice. Otherwise, we won't exchange. That's great. Chu Li spread his hand. Do you think the Sword Moon sect has the Holy Church of Light under your thumb? If you piss us off, we'll just charge into the Fu dynasty and take care of the Sword Moon sect. I'll just take out the detachment pills and let the other sects deal with your Sword Moon sect disciples. Can you stand it? In your dreams. Wen Tingdao could not help but laugh as he shook his head. The Fu dynasty's martial arts world will never listen to the Holy Church of Light. I'll just get someone from the Fu dynasty to step in. Chu Li pursed his lips. The Sword Moon sect has many enemies too, right? You'll be the sinner if both sides suffer great losses. Wen Tingdao's expression changed slightly, but he remained silent. At the end of the day, he did not want to fall out with Chu Li over a few detachment pills. After all, Chu Li was a talented and rare pill refining master. They might even be able to obtain other rare pills from him in the future. Otherwise, the Sword Moon sect would not have been so lenient. They could have just captured Li Rulan and forced Chu Li to hand over the detachment pills. Then I'll add another bottle of strengthening pills. Wen Tingdao scoffed. That's our secret medicine. Chu Li said calmly, all right, I'll exchange. Chapter 946. He had read about such a pill in the treasured pill scripture. However, the Holy Church of Light did not have such a pill due to the lack of a few spirit herbs. Replenishing one's blood essence was usually done by eating birds and beasts. Lu Jin needed a powerful blood essence to recover her arm. Unfortunately, there were no pills like the strengthening pill, so she could only rely on eating birds and beasts. However, the replenishment speed was limited, so it would take around 10 days. The replenishment speed of blood essence also determined the recovery rate. If one regrown an arm, the arm would be strong if it was replenished with blood essence. If it was not, the arm would be like a baby's arm and would need to be strengthened step by step. Although the blood essence of martial arts practitioners was strong, it was not enough to regrow limbs. All right. Wen Tingdao was overjoyed. He did not expect Chu Li to agree to it. Chu Li said, a bottle of strengthening pill and the less ultimate sword. Hand them over now. Wen Tingdao took out a jade bottle and a thin booklet without hesitation and tossed them to Chu Li. Chu Li took it and flipped through the sword manual. Then, he picked up the one in Li Ruolan's hand and flipped through it again. He nodded thoughtfully. It was indeed an exquisite sword technique. The moves were exquisite and could make up for the lack of skills. He pulled out the cork and poured out 10 round red pills. He nodded in satisfaction and tossed another jade bottle to Wen Tingdao. Wen Tingdao opened the bottle and saw 4 soybean-sized pills. They were the detachment pills that he had consumed before. He nodded in satisfaction. Brother Zhao, we're friends now. Chu Li scoffed. We're not friends. We trust each other and we're friends. I treat you as a friend, Brother Zhao. Wen Tingdao chuckled. No discord, no concord. I'm related to the Holy Church of Light now. I'll definitely visit you when I have the time. Chu Li waved his hand. I don't have time for you. It's better if you don't come. Goodbye. He turned around and left right after he finished speaking. Li Ruolan followed him out of the room. Wen Tingdao raised his voice. Brother Zhao, we'll meet again. Chu Li waved his hand and took big strides. He sped up and finally used time steps to walk beside Li Ruolan. Li Ruolan followed him without saying a word. She knew that she was to blame for this matter. She was too careless and was easily tricked to come here. She was too worried and confused and couldn't keep her cool. Chu Li did not say a word and continued on his way. He descended the mountain where the Taoist temple was located and headed towards Falling Autumn City. Junior brother, this matter. Li Ruolan sighed. I've implicated you. Chu Li glanced at him and said nothing. Li Ruolan said, the situation at that time was too realistic. I really thought that they had captured Senior Brother Ji. You know that Senior Brother Ji can't fight back now. He's almost a cripple now. It's very easy for him to be captured. Yes, I understand. Chu Li waved his hand and interrupted her. It's not that you're careless, it's just that Wen Tingdao is too cunning. It's impossible to guard against him. Sigh. Li Ruolan sighed. Chu Li replied, I was planning to hand the detachment pills to the saint so that she could exchange the less ultimate sword with the sword moon sect. I didn't expect Wen Tingdao to be in such a hurry and use these tricks. I have no choice but to make the exchange now. Li Ruolan's eyes flickered as she quickly understood Chu Li's plan. It's my fault, Li Ruolan said apologetically. Chu Li shook his head. He always has a way to trick you. You can't defeat Wen Tingdao, so this situation is inevitable. Let's return to the Great Light Peak as soon as possible before he keeps pestering us. All right. Li Ruolan nodded vigorously. It was indeed a sin for her to diminish junior brother Zhao's contribution and prevent him from advancing further in front of the saint. Perhaps he was one step away from becoming a priest at a crucial time. The two of them quietly returned to the backyard of the town defense prefecture where Lu Zhen and the others were waiting. When Gxian saw Li Ruolan, he went forward excitedly and wanted to hug Li Ruolan in his arms. However, when he saw that Li Ruolan was calm and did not show any signs of weakness, he could only suppress his urge. Zhou Jinchun grinned excitedly and asked what had happened. When Li Ruolan told him what had happened, everyone shook their heads helplessly. When faced with such a situation, not to mention Li Ruolan, anyone else would not be able to do anything about it. They would chase after him out of concern and end up in such a situation. Wen Tingdao was extremely cunning and had only taken advantage of this period of time. However, they also understood that such an invitation could turn into a forced one at any time. If Chu Li did not rush over in time, the outcome would be unpredictable. Since when did Wen Tingdao become so easily convinced? Gxian said angrily. He felt inexplicably nervous when he thought about the dangerous situation that Li Ruolan was in. He still wants the detachment pills. Chu Li shook his head. Forget it, let's ignore him for now. Senior Sister Lu, 1 strengthening pill a day and 2 detachment pills each time. All right. Lu Zhen nodded. She had been quiet as if she did not care about anything. She only held Li Ruolan's hand and did not say much. She was actually enduring the pain in her shoulder. "We should go," Chuli said. "Let's return to the Great Light Peak as soon as possible." "Yes, let's go." Zhou Jinchun and Gxian nodded immediately. Li Rulan said, "Senior Sister Lu, let's go back together. It's not good to stay here any longer." Lu Zhen nodded. She knew that Mo Qianjun could not wait for her to leave, as she had become a burden. Indeed, Mo Qianjun could not wait for all of them to leave. After all, they would only be a burden if they stayed. Therefore, the next morning, they left Falling Autumn City. Zhou Jinchun and Gxian could not use their light body techniques, so they rode on fine horses. Mo Qianjun gave each of them a horse and sent them off personally. Chuli shook his head when he saw the satisfied look on his face. If he knew that Bai Feng and the others had already set up a big formation, he would not be so excited. He would not be able to get the credit for defending Falling Autumn City this time. Cheng Sin and Cheng Lin's formation was set up more smoothly than expected. It was completed the next night, but it was not activated yet. It could be activated at any time if the army attacked. Everyone rode on horses and galloped away. Lu Zhen had been quiet throughout the journey. Chuli knew that she was in great pain. The detachment pill did not feel good and her entire arm was probably in pain. Although she had lost her arm, the pain was still there. Lu Zhen did not even let out a groan. In fact, she was even trying to hide her pain. However, Li Rulan and the others knew that she was not feeling well when they saw her pale and haggard face. Thus, they did not disturb her and continued their journey in silence. On the morning of the 5th day, they arrived at the Great Light Peak. A cheer broke the silence. Li Rulan held Lu Zhen's left arm and was overjoyed. Lu Zhen's left arm had indeed grown back. Zhou Jinchun quickly leaned over to look at Lu Zhen's fair left arm. He laughed excitedly and held Chu Li's hand tightly. He said gratefully, "Junior brother Zhao, you're really good. You're really good." Chu Li was helpless at his enthusiasm and pulled his hand out with much effort. Gxian was also amazed. "I didn't expect her arm to grow back. The detachment pill is amazing. With this, who would be afraid of getting hurt?" Chapter 947. The next evening, they arrived at the Great Light Peak. As soon as Chuli returned to the Spirit Medicine Nursery, Zhou Huang ran over and complained that the efficiency of the Spirit Medicine Nursery was too low and unbearably slow. The Spirit Medicine Nursery could not do without him. Instead of risking his life outside, it was better to stay in the Spirit Medicine Nursery. At that moment, a young lady in green entered the Spirit Medicine Nursery and approached Chuli. "Junior brother Zhao, the saint invites you." Chuli gave a fist salute and followed her to the Divine Light Basilica. The setting sun dyed the Divine Light Basilica a rosy color. Every stone on the floor of the basilica had a warm luster as if they were made of white jade. Sun Mingyue sat behind the desk. Her white dress and veil were dyed rosy as well. Her beautiful almond-shaped eyes were vibrant and captivating. She looked thoughtfully at the 2 sword manuals and a bottle of detachment pills on the desk. She did not expect Zhao Dai to be so capable. Everywhere he went, the world was turned upside down. It was as if he was shrouded in an invisible layer of luck, as if God was taking care of him. It was the Holy Church of Light's fortune that such a person could enter, but there was a very important problem. She could not see through his thoughts. When he was still weak, this problem was not worth mentioning. A small disciple could not do anything. However, in just a few months, he had accumulated a huge amount of merit and was promoted to patrol. Once he became a patrol, he would no longer be a small figure. She needed to observe him carefully and let him be an altar leader. An altar master oversaw a region. If he were to have second thoughts, it would be too damaging to the Holy Church. Moreover, he was still too young and was an outer peak disciple. He had no foundation in the Holy Church. If he suddenly rose to a high position and became an altar leader, all the disciples in the Holy Church would not be convinced. Experience was a powerful thing, and sometimes it was even more powerful than martial arts. Now, he needed to suppress him a little, slow down his speed of ascension, and build up his experience. Only then would he be able to walk more steadily and also make others feel more at ease. An altar master who was too young was not a good thing. His actions were not steady, and people could not be at ease. If he was impulsive, the Holy Church would suffer heavy losses, and the consequences would be unpredictable. Thousands of thoughts flashed through her mind. Sun Mingyue looked up at Chu Li. Chu Li stood tall and proud in the main hall, looking at her calmly. His gaze was bold, and he did not have the slightest bit of respect and admiration that the other disciples had. His face was still as ugly as ever, with triangular eyes, thick lips, and a flat nose. A smile appeared on Sun Mingyue's face. Looks were insignificant to her. She had seen too many handsome men and beautiful women, and was already numb to looks. She only cared about talent and ability, martial arts and loyalty. From today onwards you will be a patrol, Sun Mingyue said. Chu Li gave a fist salute and said, "Thank you, Saint. You deserve it." Sun Mingyue said, "The less ultimate sword is indeed powerful, even more so than the great light sword technique. You have contributed greatly." Chu Li nodded. "You want to be promoted to altar master immediately?" "Yes." "Because of altar leader MO?" "Yes." "Unfortunately, you won't be able to do as you wish," Sun Mingyue said calmly. "Your martial arts skills are not enough to become an altar leader, no matter how great your contributions are." Chu Li was stunned for a moment, then he understood. Martial arts skills and contributions were the two legs of advancement, and neither could be dispensed with. Now that his cultivation level was crippled, he had to cultivate again. Not to mention, to hide the fact that the Earth Matrix and reincarnation scripture could restore martial arts skills, he had not recovered his martial arts skills. Even if he recovered his martial arts skills, his cultivation level was not enough to become an altar leader. His light blade was powerful, but his lack of cultivation level was his shortcoming. He did not realize this when he was still a branch leader, but if he wanted to be promoted to altar leader, he would need to have a sufficient cultivation level, and not just the level of the light blade. There was a fixed standard for how deep one's cultivation level was needed. The Great Light Scripture itself did not have levels, only levels. If one continued to cultivate it, the power of the divine light body would continue to increase, and one could even ascend to heaven with this scripture. In ancient times, there were many seniors who directly ascended to heaven by rainbow transformation, but after the spirit beasts returned to 100,000 Hills, no one succeeded. Most importantly, the Great Light Scripture was divided into two parts at that time, so the people from the Holy Church of Light did not know if they could ascend to heaven by rainbow transformation. Now, the seniors living in seclusion at Great Light Peak were all filled with hope, and they desperately cultivated the Great Light Scripture, hoping to ascend to heaven by rainbow transformation before their lifespans ended. "I've decided to let you join the Herbalist Hall," Sun Mingyue said. "Your talent in alchemy is more amazing than your talent in martial arts. Go to the Herbalist Hall and practice alchemy. You can also improve your cultivation level in preparation for becoming an altar leader." Chu Li shook his head. "I don't want to be a pill-refining master." Sun Mingyue's eyes flashed, and she said, "This is my decision, just follow my orders." Chu Li shook his head. "Forgive me for not following your orders. I don't want to be a pill-refining master. I want to become an altar leader as soon as possible." Mo Qianjuan's actions in Falling Autumn City made him understand that a higher rank could crush a person. If he had not been smart enough to see through his tricks before Mo Qianjun, things would not have gone so smoothly. If Mo Qianjun didn't resort to such underhanded methods, he could just ask him to hand over the detachment pills. If he didn't hand over the detachment pills, Mo Qianjun would have a legitimate reason to deal with him. He could even order Li Ruolin and the others to capture him. If he did not become an altar leader as soon as possible, this kind of situation would happen again, and Mo Qianjun would not let him go. He could not harm him by using his identity as an altar leader, but he could use his identity to humiliate him. Sun Mingyue's tone was calm, and there was no change in it. "Do you know the consequences of disobeying my orders?" Chu Li asked. "What consequences?" "Demote by 1 level, Sun Mingyue said. "If you disobey me again, you'll be demoted by 2 levels, and if you can't demote anymore, you'll be expelled from Great Light Peak." Chu Li fell silent, and he lowered his head to think. Sun Mingyue looked at him quietly, and her eyes were cold and calm. After a while, she said calmly, "Have you thought it through?" "I don't want to be a pill-refining master." Chu Li lifted his head to look at her, and his gaze was firm. "Forget about demoting me by 1 level, even if you expel me from Great Light Peak, I'll still say the same thing. I won't become a pill-refining master." "All right, I'll fulfill your wish." Sun Mingyue nodded and said, "You're a branch leader now, go back to Gale City and stay there." She felt that it was a pity that he was stubborn and unruly, and she could not allow him to become an altar leader. He was like a horse that could not be controlled, and the faster it ran, the more trouble it would cause. This kind of person had to be trained well. First, it was to get rid of his unruly nature, and second, it was to observe his loyalty, and see if he could withstand the test. If it was someone else, she would not have to go through so much trouble, and she could see through his heart with just a glance. She could only use this kind of manipulation technique on Chu Li. It would be a pity to give up on such a genius. She needed to polish him well, and while doing so, she could see through his qualities. Only then, she could use him to become an altar leader or a priest. Chu Li fist saluted. "Understood." Sun Mingyue waved her hand. "Go." Without another word, Chu Li turned around and left with his head held high, and strode out of Divine Light Basilica. Soon, he stepped into the strong wind and strode down the mountain. Sun Mingyue looked at his back thoughtfully. Chapter 948. Chu Li's face darkened as he returned to the spirit medicine nursery and went into his house to pack his things. He left the treasured pill scripture and 100 herb scripture behind, as he did not want to bring them along. The scriptures were imprinted in his mind, and he could redraw them whenever he needed them. While he was packing, Zhou Huang and Su Jingya came in. "What's going on? You're going out again?" Zhou Huang shouted in dissatisfaction as soon as he entered. "Young fellow, don't forget that you're now a member of the spirit medicine nursery." Su Jingya was surprised. "Senior brother Zhao, you have another mission?" Chu Li stopped and fist saluted. "Elder Zhou, junior sister Su, I'm leaving the spirit medicine nursery for good this time. I'm going down the mountain." "What's going on?" Zhou Huang was displeased. "You haven't even been here for a year." Chu Li replied, "I'm a branch leader now. I'm going to Gale City to be a branch leader. I won't be coming back." "Branch leader?" Zhou Huang frowned. "I remember now. You're a branch leader, but why are you in such a hurry to leave? You should first plant a type of spirit herb in the spirit medicine nursery to accumulate some credits." To Zhao Dave, it was easy to accumulate credits in the spirit medicine nursery. However, it was not so easy outside. He had to fight with his life on the line and snatch credits from others. It was better to plant spirit herbs for a few days than to accumulate credit. Chu Li shook his head. "I disobeyed the saint's order and refused to become a pill-refining master in the herbalist hall. The saint must have asked me to leave for Gale City. Out of sight, out of mind." "The herbalist hall." Zhou Huang gritted his teeth. "They must have encouraged the saint." Chu Li replied, "I'm talented in alchemy. I've refined the detachment pill, so the saint wants me to refine pills, but I don't want to do it." "The detachment pill." Zhou Huang quickly recalled and looked at Chu Li in shock. Chu Li scoffed. "Gale City is good too. It's a carefree place." Good my *SS. Zhou Huang glared at him and shook his head. That's the far west. You've been banished. He did not think of going to the Saintess to plead for leniency, as it was useless. The Saintess was a woman of her word, and she would never go back on her word. Not to mention him pleading for leniency, even if the cult master personally spoke, it would be useless. Su Jingya stood to the side, feeling a little reluctant. Although junior brother Zhao was a little ugly, he was easy to get along with, and he didn't have any bad intentions. She was reluctant to part with him, but she didn't show it. She just smiled calmly and said goodbye to him, telling him to come back often when he had time. Elder Zhou, I will leave sooner or later. All good things must come to an end. Chu Li packed a bag and slung it over his shoulder. I'll come back often. If you need anything, send a letter to Gale City and I'll receive it. You rascal! Zhou Huang said hatefully. How dare you go head-on against the saint? You're simply courting death. Remember this lesson and be more obedient next time. The saint is ruthless. No matter how talented you are, she won't spoil you. Chu Li curled his lips disapprovingly. He gave a fist salute and turned around to leave. Li Ruolin hurried over as soon as he arrived at the entrance of the valley. She was panting heavily, and her charming face was dyed red. She looked tender and alluring. Chu Li closed fist saluted. Senior sister, are you here to bid farewell to me too? Zhao Daif, have you lost your mind? Li Ruolin yelled. Her charming face was covered with a layer of frost. She rushed over as soon as she received the news. She was furious on the way here because Zhao Dai had been kicked out of his post as soon as he was promoted to patrol. He was demoted to a branch leader and was even sent back to Gale City. It was not easy to be promoted from a branch leader to a patrol. He was lucky that he was in Falling Autumn City and encountered the Sword Moon sect. That was why Zhao Dai must have misunderstood and thought that it was easy to be promoted to a patrol. That was why he did not know how to cherish it. Many branch leaders could not become patrols their entire lives. Li Ruolin was lucky to have gone through a narrow escape before she managed to become a patrol. Zhao Dai, on the other hand, was ruined with just one sentence. She hated him so much that she wanted to give him 2 tight slaps across his face. Chu Li said nonchalantly, Senior sister, you're not here to bid farewell to me. Do you know what a stupid thing you've done? Li Ruolin became even more furious when she saw his nonchalant expression. Her chest rose and fell violently as she said angrily, Do you know what you've done today? I don't want to be a pill-refining master. It's fine to occasionally refine pills. I'd rather die than sit in front of an alchemy furnace all day long. Chu Li said snappily. What's wrong with that? You. Li Ruolin gritted her teeth and said angrily, Can't you just bear with it? It's not like you're a pill-refining master for the rest of your life. Who can do what they like? I have no choice. I can't bear with it. I can only refuse, Chu Li said. This is good too. I'll be more at ease in Gale City. You can be a branch leader for the rest of your life in Gale City. Li Ruolin said angrily. It's not bad to be a branch leader for the rest of my life. Chu Li smiled. I have the final say in Gale City. No one can tell me what to do. Shut up. Li Ruolin looked around and quickly pulled Chu Li. Let's go. She glared at Chu Li hatefully. If the saint heard what he said, she would definitely give him the cold shoulder. He would not be able to make a comeback anymore. He was simply shooting his mouth off. The two of them left the valley and soon arrived at Chu Li's small light peak. The two of them stood in front of the thatched cottage amidst the howling wind and looked at each other. Li Ruolin was furious while Chu Li was indifferent. He looked at her impudently. Li Ruolin could not stand his stare and broke the silence first. What are you thinking? I do what I want to do. Chu Li scoffed. No one can force me to do what I don't want to do. Not even the saint. Do you think you can convince the saint? Li Ruolin said snappily. She's the saint. The saint can't just say whatever she wants. Chu Li said unhappily. I don't want to be a pill-refining master. You're being unreasonable. You just have to listen to the saint's orders. Li Ruolin scoffed. If the saint wants you to die, you shouldn't hesitate. Of course, the saint won't give such orders, but you're disloyal to the Holy Church of Light if you don't listen to the saint. Do you know what that means? Chu Li scoffed. At most, I'll be sent to Gale City. Is there anything worse? Are you willing to be a branch leader for the rest of your life? Li Ruolin said. If it were anyone else, they would have become a branch leader in their past life. You're different. You're a genius in martial arts and you're good at making contributions. You're destined to be a priest. Chu Li said, What's the point of being a priest if I have to do something I don't like? No one can do as they please in this world. Li Ruolin said earnestly. Look at the saint. She's so powerful. She can do as she pleases, right? No. Chu Li shook his head. Li Ruolin said, You're quite understanding. Even the saint can't live as she pleases, let alone us. That's why you should be more obedient and cultivate in Gale City. Don't cause any more trouble. I'll find an opportunity to mention you to the saint. Sigh. Chu Li shook his head. Forget it. Don't mention me. I'm doing quite well in Gale City. Li Ruolin rolled her eyes at him and waved her hand. Let's go. I'll come and see you. She glided down and stepped on the treetop. Soon, she disappeared into the dense forest. Her green robe blended in with the forest. Chapter 949. The imperial residence of King An was in a state of chaos. The guards and maids were all in a hurry, and there were already more than a dozen horses waiting outside the residence. They were dressed in colorful makeup with exquisite and luxurious saddles. They were all well-trained, full of spiritual energy and rare fine horses. Any one of these fine horses was equivalent to the lifetime expenses of a commoner's family. Chu Li appeared in his room and sat cross-legged on his bed. Ling Qiu and Ling Qing were still practicing their swordsmanship in the courtyard. They were dressed in luxurious gowns and were in high spirits. The life and death scripture was circulating slowly. All the vital energy from the divine light technique in his dantian dissipated, and a towering tree gradually appeared in his mind, the life and death tree. The life and death tree lay in the void of his mind, as if it was connected to an unreachable void. Its roots floated in the void, taking root and using the void as its soil. It was above the four scriptures as if it was looking down at their operation. After a while, the life and death scripture slowly disappeared. The fist-sized heavenly demonic orb fell like a ripe fruit and landed on his body. The heavenly demonic orb appeared out of nowhere above his precordium, containing a powerful lightning-like force. With a thought, spiritual energy from all directions surged in and flowed according to the heart technique of the cloud slashing power, forming inner energy in the blink of an eye in his dantian. In less than a quarter of an hour, the cloud slashing power in his dantian was full. His cultivation level had recovered, and he was stronger than before. The two women who were practicing their swordsmanship stopped. As they cultivated, their senses became more acute. There was an indescribable comfort in the breeze that blew on their faces. It was completely different from the usual wind. They could not help but activate their inner energy. In the void of his mind, the three-headed Buddha and the heavenly demon were still chanting their respective scriptures. They were no different from Zhao Dai. The Great Light Scripture, Mahavairochana's Immobility Scripture, Earth Matrix and Reincarnation Scripture, and the Heavenly Demon Scripture were circulating at the same time, continuously strengthening his body. After his cultivation level was fully recovered, his cultivation level surpassed Fang Qingyang and Mo Qianjun. He was much stronger than before. A turbulent aura spread out like a mountain, and the two women in the courtyard could clearly feel a mountain pressing down on them. Head Chief, the two women called out in joy. Chu Li pushed the door open and smiled. What day is it today? The sun was bright, illuminating the courtyard. The hunting ceremony. Ling Qiu tilted her head and looked at Chu Li, Head chief seems a little different. Oh? Chu Li lowered his head to look at himself. Ling Ying said, "Congratulations for your improvement in martial arts." Chu Li nodded and smiled. "Not bad, I've gained something from my isolated cultivation this time. The hunting ceremony is just right. You must attend since you're back," Lung Qiu said. Now that Lung Tao has become arrogant again, he has recruited another 2 grandmasters. The power of the imperial residence of Qingqing has increased greatly. I Lung clan Lung of residence. He doesn't even dare to do it himself now. Lung Qiu pouted her pink lips. He knows that he's not our match. Clan Lung man of. He realized that the 2 ladies were very persistent in practicing their swordsmanship. They stayed in their own courtyard all day long. At first, King An tried to stop them, so they were absent for a few days. However, after that, they would sneak over and ignore King An's attempts to stop them. Chu Li noticed that the 2 women were obsessed with swordsmanship. They stayed in their courtyard all day. King An stopped them and they were absent for a few days. But they would sneak over and ignore King An's protests. We must make him unable to lift his head. We must suppress his protectors. Lung Qiu scoffed. Let's see if he dares to be arrogant again. If he's like you, he won't dare to be arrogant in front of you even if he has a master protector. Chu Li shook his head and laughed. Miss Qing, it's time. The princess has asked you to depart. A maid came in. All right, let's depart. Lung Qiu smiled. Head chief, let's go. Chu Li smiled. Go ahead. I'll go see the princess. When Chu Li arrived at Tianshu courtyard, he saw Xiao Shi and Xiao Qi walking out. Yang Su and Meng Lan were following behind them. The clothes of the 2 women were almost exactly the same. They were both dressed in pure white, and their faces were covered by a white veil. Only a pair of beautiful eyes could be seen, and they were extremely charming. You came at the right time. Do you want to join the hunting ceremony? As Xiao Shi walked, her body was graceful like a willow branch brushing the surface of the water. She waved her hand. Let's go for a walk. Sure. Chu Li nodded and looked at Xiao Qi. Xiao Qi's eyes were cold. She nodded at him and continued to walk out. Her upper body was straight and her posture was elegant. It showed that she came from a good background and was educated. Chu Li shook his head. Lady Xiao Shi's cultivation has improved a lot. I can't compare to you, Xiao Qi said. Chu Li walked to her side and they walked side by side. It's hard for Lady Xiao Shi to surpass me. It's hard for you to progress in the regal sword scripture, right? Yes. Xiao Qi turned to look at him. Do you know the reason? Chu Li smiled and said, If you're passionate, you'll forget about it. If you're emotionless, how can you talk about forgetting about it? Xiao Qi frowned and stared at him. Chu Li said, Lady Xiao Shi has been tense and locked her heart. This is loneliness, not forgetting about love. If you don't cultivate properly, it'll be hard for you to achieve much. He had asked Sun Lihua about the regal sword scripture. Sun Lihua had nothing to do in the sutra library, so she helped him look for information about the regal sword scripture. Loneliness. Xiao Qi was deep in thought. Xiao Shi smiled at Xiao Qi and glared at Chu Li. You're disturbing little sister's state of mind again. Chu Li smiled. This is real experience. I've spent a lot of effort to find it. You found out about the regal sword scripture. Xiao Shi was surprised. You're really dedicated. Chu Li said, Of course. Lady Xiao Shi's regal sword scripture is profound and it can reach the enlightened master level. However, it's extremely difficult to become an enlightened master. It's better not to hold on to that hope. Xiao Qi glared at him. Xiao Shi smiled. You can't not cultivate it even if you can't become an enlightened master. How many enlightened masters are there in the world? Moreover, enlightened masters can't simply attack. Grandmasters are more useful. They can kill whoever they want. As the three of them talked, Su Ru came out in an apricot gown. When she saw Chu Li coming out, she smiled brightly like a spring flower. The two concubines, Xuanning Yu and Song Luing, had already come out and were about to mount their horses. They wore green robes and looked valiant. Together with Ling Qiu and Ling Qing, they looked more like sisters than mother and daughter. It's rare for head chief to come out. Head chief, you've missed a few hunting ceremonies. You're finally back. Xuanning Yu smiled. Chu Li closed fist, saluted and smiled. After coming out of isolated cultivation, I can stay in the residence. Consort Xue is even more elegant than before. Really? Xuanning Yu smiled. Maybe these two young ladies have saved me a lot of trouble. I don't look old when I'm not so worried. Sister Xiao, shall we depart? Let's go. Xiao sure nodded. The protectors in front spurred their horses and the scribes behind followed. They surrounded them as they left the imperial residence of King En and headed east. The pedestrians on the street made way for them and looked at them curiously. After a while, they arrived at the east gate. Once they exited the east gate, they saw elite soldiers on both sides of the road. Chu Li and Ling Qiu and Ling Qing were chatting and laughing when they saw a group of people walking slowly in front. Chapter 950. P.S. The 32nd Alliance Leader has been born, Alliance Leader X. P.S. Finally another Alliance Leader. I'm very excited, but my fingernails are inflamed and I can't stand the pain of typing. My updates aren't good enough. I'm ashamed. I might not be able to update much today. Try your best to write, please forgive me. Lung Tao sat on a tall horse. His plump body straightened but his head drooped down with an unwilling expression. Beside him were two protectors, one of which was Qiao San. Behind them were 4 protectors. Chu Li recognized one of them. He was also a grandmaster from Crouching Bull Mountain. It seemed that Zhuge Tian's words were still effective. Qiao San really came. Imperial Crown Prince, look who's behind you. Qiao San saw Xiao Shi and the others. He quickly lowered his voice and said in surprise, Imperial Residence of Prince En. Sister Ling Qiu? Lung Tao's face brightened and turned his head. He saw Ling Qiu, who was sitting on the horse with her back straight, and instantly revealed a joyful expression. He laughed. What a coincidence to meet Sister Ling Qiu. As he finished, he pulled the reins and turned the horse around to gallop back. In a blink of an eye, he arrived in front of the imperial residence of Prince An's entourage. Lu Xing and the other protectors blocked in front of him, expressionlessly. They only blocked the way and did not say a word. Ling Tao stopped his horse and stared at them in dissatisfaction. He waved his chubby white hand. Move, move, I have something to say to Sister Ling Qiu. Lu Xing and the others sat on their horses without moving. The horses also seemed to be rooted to the ground. Lu Xing and the others stared coldly at Ling Tao, especially Zhu Tianhua. His gaze was even colder. Ling Tao saw the tall and burly Zhu Tianhua and said unhappily, Zhu Tianhua, you're a traitor, how dare you stare at me? Imperial Crown Prince Tao, please behave yourself. Zhu Tianhua scoffed. Yo, you're quite brave. Who gave you the courage to talk back to me? Lung Tao glanced at him and scoffed. Did I not teach you a good lesson? Imperial Crown Prince Tao is still as elegant as ever. Chu Li lightly knocked on the horse's belly and took a few steps forward. He appeared in Ling Tao's field of vision and closed fist saluted with a faint smile. Ling Tao's expression changed and he subconsciously shrunk his body. Previously, he had only been staring at Ling Qiu and did not notice Chu Li. Chu Li had not appeared during several hunting ceremonies. Everyone in Fairy's capital knew that Head Chief Chu was in isolated cultivation and would not appear for a while. Lung Tao did not expect to bump into Chu Li again. Chu Li forced a smile. What business do you have, Crown Prince Tao? Nothing. Lung Tao hurriedly said. Then, he realized that he had shown too much weakness. He coughed lightly and said, I'm just here to say hello to Sister Ling Qiu. We don't get to know each other without fighting. No discord, no concord. Chu Li sized up Qiao San, who was standing beside Ling Tao. Where did you get this guy from? Qiao San scoffed. Chief Chu, right? Our heirs are of noble status. You are just a steward. I don't think you are qualified to meddle in the affairs of the heirs and daughters of the prince's mansion. It is better for you to step aside. Hee. Chu Li laughed and shook his head. He's really loyal and he's got guts too. He turned his head to look at Ling Tao. Crown Prince Tao, is this your protector? Ling Tao scoffed. Although his words are unpleasant to hear, his logic is not bad. Why, I am not allowed to see Sister Ling Qiu. You are only a steward, not the third uncle, right? Crown Prince, you have improved a lot. All right, I will go back and report. Please wait for a while. Chu Li nodded. Thank you. Ling Tao proudly scoffed. He felt that he had finally turned the tables and gained a lot of face. He looked at Qiao San with approval. Qiao San quickly smiled. Chu Li moved the reins and tapped the horse's belly lightly. He turned to Ling Qiu and smiled. Crown Prince Tao seems to have fallen for Miss Qiu. Do you want to see him? Why would I want to see him? Ling Qiu pouted. Ling Qing said, Little sister, scold him when you have the chance. All right. Ling Qiu thought about it and agreed. Head chief, his protector Qiao San is especially annoying. How is he annoying? Chu Li asked. His eyes are shifty. One look and you can tell he is not a good person. His demeanor is also very presumptuous. Ling Qiu scoffed. It seems like he can take care of us anytime. Looks like he was born in the mountains. Chu Li nodded. He lacks respect for the imperial power. It's all right. Find a chance to teach him a lesson. Ling Qiu smiled. Ling Qing said, Head chief, be careful. This person is sinister and cunning. Chu Li nodded and raised his voice. Lu Xing, let Crown Prince Tao come over. However, he is alone. Yes. Lu Xing and the others fist saluted. Xuan Yu, Song Luiying, Xiao Shi, and Shao Qi sat quietly on their horses. They smiled as they looked over. The main purpose of the hunting ceremony was for the crown princes and princesses to socialize. They would not interfere easily. Qiao San glared at Lu Xing and the others but did not cause any more trouble. He fist saluted. Be careful, Crown Prince. Ling Tao took a deep breath and nodded. He looked like he was about to enter the tiger's den. He was anxious. He felt relaxed when Chu Li was not around. Even when Ling Qiu and the others looked at him coldly, he did not feel anything. He did not care if he was scolded or beaten up. However, once Chu Li appeared, he immediately felt uncomfortable, as if he was in danger. Chu Li had hit him a few times. He was traumatized. When he saw Chu Li's smile, he felt a little guilty. Chu Li did not care about Ling Tao. Instead, he looked at Qiao San. Of course, Qiao San did not recognize him. When he was disguised as Zhuge Tian, he asked Qiao San to bring people to the imperial residence of King Qing. It seemed that he made the right move. Qiao San had gained Ling Tao's trust and became his confidant. The identity of the Crouching Bull Mountain was enough to make King Qing feel at ease. The prince's mansion only dared to use people like him who were well known and had a sect. Most of the time, the prince's mansion would reject those with mysterious backgrounds to avoid trouble. Even if they used them, they would only use them once. Ling Tao approached Ling Qiu and Ling Qing. He smiled stiffly and fist saluted. Sister Ling Qiu, long time no see. We met 10 days ago. Ling Qiu said impatiently. Ling Tao, if you have something to say, say it. Don't talk nonsense. Ahem. Ling Tao relaxed. Ling Qiu's expression was normal. He smiled. It's nothing. I just came to say hello. Sister Ling Qiu has become more beautiful. I know, so I'm still talking nonsense. The hunting ceremony this time will be hosted by King Uncle Bao, Ling Tao said. Fourth aunt will be here too. Fourth aunt will be here too? Lung Qiu was surprised. Fourth aunt was King Ping's consort. She rarely left King Ping's imperial residence. Although she had dealings with the imperial residences, she was very indifferent. It was as if she looked down on the imperial residences. Of course, Lung Tao said proudly. It's rare to see fourth aunt. I specially asked around. You don't have any other skills, but you have a lot of gossip. Lung Qiu scoffed. Alright, we have to hurry. We don't have time to chat with you. Move aside. Let's go together. Lung Tao grinned. No need. Lung Qiu waved her hand impatiently. Move aside. Don't block the way. She knocked on the horse's belly and started to move forward. Chapter 951. Chu Li stood by the side and let the horse gallop forward lazily. His mind was on King Ping. Why did Consort Ping suddenly appear? It was obvious that King Ping was behind this. Otherwise, Consort Ping would not have suddenly left the residence. King Ping had always been in an awkward situation. He had made great contributions to the imperial court. Everyone could see that the emperor was hesitant and indecisive, and so were the courtiers. If they let go of the South Mountain and there would be no more wars at the border, King Ping's military power could be removed. However, the situation was getting more and more tense. The Li dynasty was getting stronger and stronger, and it was only a matter of time before a war broke out. If they did not remove King Ping's military power, he would make more contributions once the war started. He would be in a situation where he could not be rewarded and could only be given the title of Crown Prince. If they removed King Ping's military power, he would not be able to withstand the Li dynasty's cavalry once the war started. Once the border was in a state of emergency, King Ping would have to take action. By then, King Ping's prestige would increase and no one would be able to stop him from ascending to the title of Crown Prince. However, the courtiers had chosen King Jing as the Crown Prince. In their eyes, King Ping was just a martial artist, and it was not a good thing for a martial artist to rule the country. Chu Li pondered as he walked and unknowingly walked for a few miles. Rumble! The ground shook like thunder. A group of knights galloped to their heart's content and soon caught up. It's Granduncle Bao. Lung Tao turned to look at the group of knights. Chu Li gestured for the protectors to move aside. As the knights approached, the ground shook even more. Fortunately, the road had been sprinkled with water in advance to moisturize the soil. It was neither muddy nor dusty, so even though the horses were galloping, there was no yellow dust. It was very clean. The leading knight was Prince Bao. He was dressed in purple and did not look old at all when he galloped on his horse. Instead, he was full of energy and his eyes were like lightning. Nay, Prince Bao was about to gallop away. He usually ignored juniors like them, but he suddenly pulled on the reins. He stopped his horse abruptly. The 8 knights pulled on their horses at the same time. The horses neighed incessantly as they stood firmly on the spot, protecting Prince Bao in the middle. It showed that the 8 protectors were highly skilled and had quick reflexes. Prince Bao laughed. Chu Li, when did you come out of isolated cultivation? Chu Li gave a fist salute and smiled. Greetings, Your Royal Highness. I just came out of isolated cultivation today. All right, let's go together. Prince Bao waved his hand and smiled. There won't be any danger here. You don't have to protect them. Yes. Chu Li smiled. He turned around and made a closed-fist salute to Xiao Shi, Xuaningyu, Song Luiying and the others. Go. Xiao Shi nodded lightly. Xiao Shi and the ladies saluted Prince Bao with their fists. Prince Bao waved his hand to indicate that there was no need to be overly courteous. He had no intention of talking to them. Chu Li approached Prince Bao and smiled. Your Royal Highness's cultivation level has improved tremendously. Congratulations. Ha! Prince Bao whipped his horse and rode alongside Chu Li. He laughed and said, While you've been in isolated cultivation, I haven't been idle either. The two of them were chatting and laughing as the horses under them trotted forward. The 8 guards were closely guarding them. Lung Tao said indignantly, "Granduncle Bao Wang is too biased, he just had to talk to Chu Li, really. Could it be that Granduncle Bao Wang is looking for you? Why don't you see if you're worthy?" Lung Qiu glared at him and scoffed. Chief Chu is just an outsider. Not only is he not biased towards his own people, but he values outsiders more. How unfair, Lung Tao said. You're more capable than the head chief. Lung Qiu curled her lips. If you want to be valued, you need to show your capabilities first. Other than having a body full of fat and eating like a pig, what other capabilities do you have? Younger sister Ling Qiu, that's not right. My martial arts is still alright. Lung Tao was unconvinced. Then do you want to compete? Lung Qiu scoffed. Lung Tao quickly shook his head. No matter how strong he was, he would not be able to defeat Ling Qiu. Ling Qiu's swordsmanship had improved by leaps and bounds and was unstoppable. It was truly uncanny. Could it be that she was a genius in martial arts and his aptitude was that bad? He heard from his father that his aptitude was not bad either. Xiao Shi saw Shao Qi staring at Chu Li's back and smiled. Prince Bao and Chu Li are friends despite the difference in age. Shao Qi nodded and looked at Chu Li's receding figure. Chu Li sat on a horse and rode beside Prince Bao as they chatted about the fairy's capital. This time, Madame Ping will be attending the ceremony too. Prince Bao shook his head and sighed. This is troublesome. Chu Li asked, Is Consort Ping difficult to get along with? That's not it. Prince Bao shook his head. Although Xian Xiang is a little cold, she has a good heart. It's just that she doesn't like to interact with people and would rather stay in the residence to take care of the flowers and plants. Moreover, her identity is too sensitive. King Jing's wife will be coming too, when that time comes, Prince Bao said with a troubled expression. I'm not afraid of them quarreling because they don't have the temperament to quarrel. I'm just afraid that the scribes will do something or someone with ulterior motives will stir up trouble. I'm sure the 2 consorts will restrain their servants, Chu Li said. I hope so. This is such a tough job, but my brother insisted that I do it. Prince Bao smiled bitterly. He thinks it's a good job. The Emperor is raising hopes for your Royal Highness to take over the House of Deva in the future, right? You can see that too? The Emperor's intention is very clear. Sigh. Prince Bao shook his head. I really don't want to be the chief of the House of Deva and offend people. That's not up to you, Your Royal Highness. Chu Li smiled. If the Emperor thinks it's suitable, then it's enough. I can't help it. Prince Bao sighed. Sometimes I'm quite envious of you. Although you're a chief, you're free and unfettered. You can go into isolated cultivation whenever you want and no one can control you. Unlike me, I'm always busy. Everyone knew about the situation in King An's imperial residence. Even King An could not do anything to him if he was a rank 1 chief. Chu Li could not help but laugh. As the two talked, they had unknowingly traveled more than 10 miles. All of a sudden, the sky brightened up as if another sun had appeared. A door of light appeared in the sky, and there was a faint sound lingering in the air. A beam of white light shot up from Luoyang and into the door of light, disappearing in the blink of an eye. The light gate slowly dissipated and the sky returned to normal as if what happened earlier was just an illusion. Chu Li frowned and his face darkened. Prince Bao's face darkened too. He gritted his teeth and scoffed. The Holy Church of Light. Chu Li said, wherever they appear, nothing good will happen. Damn it! Prince Bao scoffed. They've already ascended to heaven and achieved great merit. I wonder who they're trying to assassinate this time. Chu Li nodded. Based on the situation, it could be deduced that it was an assassination attempt by a disciple of the Holy Church of Light. As for whether it was a success or not, they were already more than 10 miles away from Fairy's capital. Chu Li's omniscient mirror could not observe them and could not see clearly. Prince Bao rubbed the area between his eyebrows. I'm afraid it has something to do with me. Chu Li's expression changed and he frowned. It can't be Brother Shaoxi, right? Prince Bao turned his head and shouted, Jiahe, go back and take a look. Find out what happened. Yes, Your Royal Highness. A middle-aged protector fist saluted and responded. He leaped down from his horse and disappeared in the blink of an eye like a gust of wind. Prince Bao said, We'll have news soon. Chu Li said, I hope they don't stir up any more trouble. He found it strange. Logically speaking, the Holy Church of Light should be fully focused on dealing with the Li dynasty. They should not have the time to care about the Ji dynasty. Why would they stir up trouble again? A moment later, Jiahe appeared in front of the horse like a gust of wind. He fist saluted and said, Your Royal Highness, I've found out that Consort Ping was assassinated as soon as she left the residence. Assassinated? Prince Bao asked. Chapter 952. P.S. I can only write so much for today. It's too depressing, please forgive me. Dead. Prince Bao frowned. How did she die? Jiahe lowered his head. The corpse was shared, I can't save her. Damn it. Prince Bao gritted his teeth. What a vicious move. Someone of Consort Ping's status must have a life-saving spirit pill. Even if she died, as long as it was not more than 2 hours, she could still be saved after consuming it. However, there was no way to share the corpse. Once the corpse was separated, the soul would leave the body and be reincarnated. No matter how miraculous the spirit pill was, it would not be able to recall the soul. Chu Li's face darkened. He had never met Consort Ping, but he had met King An. He could imagine how furious King Ping would be when he heard the news. He might even send his troops. It was said that King Ping and Consort Ping were very close. How could King Ping not avenge Consort Ping's death? Prince Bao turned his head. Chu Li, come with me. Chu Li smiled bitterly. Your Royal Highness, I think I'll pass. After all, this is not a trivial matter. He wanted to go, but it was a serious matter. He might have to keep it a secret from King Ping, who was at the border. If he was the emperor, he would remove King Ping's military power before letting him return to Fairy's capital. Otherwise, with military power in hand, he would not know what he would do in a fit of rage. However, King Ping was well informed. It would be difficult to keep it a secret. Once it was leaked, the emperor would definitely hold him accountable. Anyone who knew about it would be in trouble and investigated. He did not want to get into trouble. He still had to go to Gale City. If he did not go for too long, the saint would be suspicious. Prince Bao said, You're already involved. Don't even think about escaping. Let's go. He knew Chu Li's capabilities. He was especially good at dealing with the Holy Church of Light. Chu Li nodded helplessly. The two walked back and met Xiao Shi and the others. Ling Tao was still fawning over Ling Qiu with a cheeky smile. After being taught a few lessons by Ling Qiu, he felt that Ling Qiu was pleasing to the eye. He felt comfortable playing with her. Even when Ling Qiu scolded him, he did not mind at all. The psychological advantage that he had grown up with Ling Qiu was still there. This was not love between a man and woman. After all, they were blood relatives. It was more like friendship. Seeing them walking back, Ling Tao was confused. Granduncle Bao, why is he back? It can't be an invitation, right? Dream on. Ling Qiu snorted. Prince Bao and Chu Li walked side by side. In the blink of an eye, they had arrived in front of them, but they did not stop. Instead, they galloped forward. Ling Tao's hand froze in midair as he turned his head to look. Chu Li waved his hand and gestured for them to continue walking. Ling Qiu turned and glared at Ling Tao. Let's go. Xiao Shi and the others were in a heated discussion. They did not know what had happened. Seeing that Chu Li did not say anything, Xiao Shi knew that it was a confidential matter. Otherwise, he would have come over to inform them and then followed Prince Bao. What actually happened? Xuaningyu asked curiously, why did he suddenly run back? Don't worry about it for now. Let's continue to the enclosure, Xiaoshi said. Chu Li and Prince Bao rode their horses through the east gate. They did not dismount from their horses but galloped along the main road in the center of the city. The central street was bustling with activity. It was paved with bluestone, clean and tidy. The horses' hooves gave off a crisp sound as they stepped on the bluestone. Pedestrians, make way! Prince Bao's protectors shouted loudly. His Royal Highness is in front of you, no one is to stop him. They were all people with profound cultivation levels. Their shouts were deafening. The pedestrians hurriedly made way for them. Chu Li and Prince Bao passed by as if they were walking in the sea. They galloped to King Ping's imperial residence in the west of the city in one go. Outside King Ping's imperial residence, more than 10 protectors in black stood with their hands on their swords. They guarded the entrance with tense expressions and a faint murderous aura. When they saw Prince Bao and Chu Li dismount from their horses, 2 protectors in black stepped forward and said, "The imperial residence is a restricted area. Please stay." Chu Li glanced at the 2 of them and asked, "Qi Meng, Zhaoliang, who's inside?" He immediately recognized these protectors in black as secret guardians from Secret Guardians Hall. He had a photographic memory and knew the names of every secret guardian he had seen. Centurion Chu, one of the protectors in black, said, "Commander Su has personally come. Inform him that this is Prince Bao," Chu Li said. The secret guardian, Qi Meng, was a middle-aged man with thick eyebrows and big eyes. He quickly nodded and went in. Su Wanda came out in a hurry. His originally stern expression became even more unpleasant. He came to the entrance of the imperial residence and gave a fist salute. "Greetings, Your Royal Highness." Prince Bao waved his hand. "How's the situation?" "Your Royal Highness, please come in and talk." Su Wanda looked at Chu Li. "Centurion Chu, you came just in time. I was just about to look for you." Chu Li nodded. The 3 of them crossed the tall threshold of the imperial residence and stepped into the spacious front hall. The thick smell of blood hit them in the face and did not dissipate. The blood puddles on the ground showed the tragic battle earlier. Su Wanda brought the 2 of them to the main hall. There were 12 corpses in the main hall. Most of them did not have any external injuries. Their faces were golden with a hint of green. They were completely dead. The princess's corpse has been placed in the coffin. "It's not appropriate to look at it," Su Wanda said. "Centurion Chu, take a closer look and see which sect did this." Chu Li looked at the 12 corpses and sighed as he shook his head. "The Divine Light Fist is very profound. It's not an ordinary disciple of the Holy Church of Light. It really is the Holy Church of Light." Su Wanda clenched his teeth. Chu Li said, "Looking at the injuries, there's only one person." "Yes," Su Wanda said. "Consort Zhu was about to leave the residence when this fellow from the Holy Church of Light suddenly rushed out and killed the consort with a single slash of his sword. After that, under the relentless attacks of the protectors, he performed the Holy Church of Light's secret skill and killed 12 protectors. These protectors were top-notch masters from the military. Each of them killed people like scything flax. However, they were all killed by this person. In the end, this person achieved perfection and stepped into the light boundary." Chu Li sighed. Perfection is when the secret skill of the scripture of great light is activated to the extreme. Moreover, these military masters can easily stimulate the potential of the Holy Church of Light's disciple and force him to achieve perfection. Sigh. "This is troublesome." "It's very troublesome," Su Wanda said. "I've already blocked the news. However, there are too many people and they're outside the imperial residence. I'm afraid it'll be very difficult." Prince Bao said, "What did the Emperor say?" "The Emperor hasn't given any instructions. I've just reported it. The murderer has already passed away. We can't pursue him anymore. This is too frustrating." Su Wanda shook his head. "That's why we can't tell King Ping." Prince Bao scoffed. Chu Li said, Your Royal Highness, with King Ping's ability, there's no way he can hide it. I'm guessing the news has already been sent out. It'll reach King Ping soon. What should we do? Prince Bao frowned. King Ping is young and impetuous. I'm afraid he'll get into big trouble. Chu Li nodded slowly. It was easy to guess what King Ping would do when he was furious. Chu Li said, Commander Su, there's something fishy about this. From what I know, the Li dynasty and the Qiu dynasty are entangled with each other. They can't spare any attention to deal with us. Assassinating Consort Ping at this time is obviously to provoke King Ping and make him send out his troop. Centurion Chu, do you think it's not the Holy Church of Light? Commander Su asked. Chapter 953. Qiu Dynasty. It must be the Qiu dynasty's doing. Prince Bao's expression was grave as he said coldly. Chu Li said, Your Royal Highness, based on my understanding, the Qiu dynasty is arrogant and doesn't take the Li dynasty seriously. They might not resort to such tactics. They want to defeat the Li dynasty fair and square because they think that the Li dynasty isn't a true cavalry. That's how the imperial court of the great Ji dynasty sees it, but their martial arts sects might not be obedient. Prince Bao sneered. They are used to seeing themselves as scholars of the nation, interfering with the politics of the imperial court and manipulating the world. Chu Li nodded slowly. If that was the case, it made sense. What else do you have in mind, Centurion Chu? Su Huanda said, Tell me all at once. Chu Li shook his head and said, I'm worried about the Fu dynasty or the Jing dynasty. They might make a move too. The Holy Church of Light has never had any traitorous disciples. This isn't something an ordinary force can achieve. It might not be a betrayal. Prince Bao shook his head. The Holy Church of Light hates King Ping to the core. Killing his consort can be considered an act of revenge. Chu Li furrowed his brows. Wives and children should not be implicated. Life and death on the battlefield depends on one's own abilities. That's what you think, but not everyone thinks so, Prince Bao said. As long as there's a little encouragement. Your Highness, this kind of person can't be persuaded with just a little encouragement. Chu Li shook his head. To be able to kill 6 protectors in one go, he's not a nobody in the Holy Church of Light. 6? Prince Bao looked at him. Su Huanda was a little embarrassed. Chu Li sighed. The other 6 committed suicide. He could tell at a glance, but he didn't want to point it out. Su Huanda could tell as well. Sigh. Prince Bao shook his head. How can King Ping not be furious when he finds out? These protectors were obviously loyal to King Ping. They were ashamed of themselves for not being able to protect the princess consort and were too ashamed to face King Ping. Hence, they decided to kill him as an apology. Chu Li sighed and remained silent. Su Huanda also shook his head. The atmosphere became heavy, and the bright sunlight could not dispel the chill in the hall. Get out of the way! A deep voice rang out, followed by hurried footsteps. Su Huanda's face darkened, and he turned his head to look. The burly King Jing, who was dressed in court attire, hurried over. His face was as dark as steel, and he looked extremely imposing. He strode into the main hall and gave a fist salute. Greetings, Uncle King. 6th brother, what are you doing here? Prince Bao frowned. I heard that 4th sister-in-law had an accident. King Jing's expression darkened. Has she been saved? Prince Bao sighed. The body has been decapitated, how can we save it? King Jing's eyes flashed. He clenched his fists so tightly that his veins popped out. Get out of the way, get out of the way. If you don't move, don't blame me for being impolite. A loud shout came from outside, followed by the sound of footsteps. The stout Prince Qing swaggered in. Stepping over the screen, he turned his head and glared at him, saying hatefully, "A dog who uses his master's power to bully others." He swaggered into the main hall. When he raised his head and saw that Prince Bao was there, he quickly put away his expression and cupped his fists respectfully. "Uncle Bao, what are you doing here? What are you trying to do? Prince Bao said coldly. Prince Ching hurriedly said, I heard that Seesaw was attacked by an assassin. If I don't come and take a look, wouldn't I be too heartless? Look, sixth brother is here too. He glanced at Chu Li from the corner of his eye and scoffed to himself. King An was not able to come over. He was busy recovering his martial arts all day and did not do any proper work. Yet he still wanted to fight for the position of crown prince? What a joke! Chu Li did a fist salute and did not say a word. Prince Bao waved his hand and said impatiently, You're just causing trouble by coming. If there's nothing else, go back. Uncle Bao, I want to ask those protectors, how did they protect Seesaw? Prince Ching said loudly, We usually treat them well, but at the crucial moment we can't let them off easily. We must make them pay for what they did to Seesaw. They're all dead, Prince Bao said coldly. All dead? Prince Ching was stunned. Su Huanda said in a low voice, Your Royal Highness Prince Ching, there were a total of 12 protectors. 6 of them died in battle while the other 6 committed suicide. This group of people has some guts. Prince Ching smacked his lips and scoffed. What's the use of them dying? Their lives are not as precious as Seesaw's. You should stop talking, Prince Bao said coldly. Prince Ching gave a fist salute and replied, Yes. He stared at Su Huanda with his big eyes. What's the use of you secret guardians? Didn't you receive any news beforehand? Are you deaf and mute? You have so many eyes and ears, yet it's useless? Su Huanda was speechless. He sighed. It's our negligence. King Jing had been silent all this while, trying his best to suppress his anger. He could not hold it in any longer and scoffed. The secret guardians hall is getting worse. You were able to solve some big cases a while ago, but these few months you've done nothing. It's time for you to reflect on yourselves. Su Huanda's face darkened and he said nothing. Theoretically, the princes and even Prince Bao had no right to criticize the Secret Guardians Hall. The Secret Guardians Hall only answered to the Emperor and did not care about anyone else. They did not even hesitate to investigate the princes. However, this matter was the Secret Guardians Hall's responsibility. They did not notice the assassin in advance and did not receive any news. Every Grandmaster who entered Fairy's capital was under the surveillance of the Secret Guardians Hall and the Imperial House protectors. Yet, they did not notice the assassin. The Holy Church of Light's secret skill to conceal their martial arts was so powerful that they were helpless against it. Chu Li did not say anything. He could understand the source of King Jing and King Cheng's anger. The fox grieved for the rabbit's death. Everything grieved for its own kind. If Consort Ping was assassinated so easily, it would not be difficult for them to assassinate them as well. It was as if there was a sword hanging above their heads, ready to fall at any moment. King Jing asked, Can we find out who the culprit is? Su Huanda shook his head. He has ascended to heaven and entered the great light-surpassing state. King Jing's cheeks puffed up as he secretly gritted his teeth. In other words, he killed fourth sister-in-law and has ascended to heaven? King Ching yelled. Su Huanda nodded bitterly. B*****. King Cheng's eyes widened in anger. He stomped his feet and cursed, that B*****. This was too depressing. The assassin had killed fourth sister-in-law, helping him to achieve great merit and ascend to heaven. Fourth sister-in-law's death had become his stepping stone. He was now living freely in the great light-surpassing region, but they could do nothing about it. Lower your voice, Prince Bao said coldly. Do you think you can make him come down by shouting? Fourth sister-in-law, you died so tragically. You're so pitiful. King Ching yelled at the sky. Shut up. Prince Bao yelled. If this news were to spread, it would only cause panic among the people. King Ching could only shut his mouth and did not dare to show his dissatisfaction. I don't believe that he's alone. He has no accomplices. King Jing said coldly. Could it be a personal grudge and there's no mastermind? Can the secret Guardians Hall find out who the mastermind is? It must be the Li dynasty. King Qing scoffed. The Holy Church of Light's disciples haven't betrayed them yet. It must be the Li dynasty who did it. King Jing glared at him. Ninth brother, use your brain. Then it must be the Qiu dynasty. King Qing said hurriedly. They took the opportunity to provoke us to deal with the Li dynasty and reduce their pressure. Find the mastermind and give fourth brother an explanation. King Jing said in a low voice. The secret Guardians Hall can do that, right? Chapter 954. Two middle-aged guards from the imperial house strode in. They were dressed in purple robes, and their auras were as heavy as mountains. Every step they took caused the ground to tremble. It was as if two giant elephants were strolling in. When they arrived at the front of the main hall, their gazes swept across the crowd before they said in a deep voice, "The Emperor has spoken, Su Huanda from the Secret Guardians Hall." Su Huanda walked down the stairs and cupped his fists as a salute. "I'm Su Huanda." A middle-aged protector raised his voice and said, "Order the Secret Guardians Hall to immediately investigate the case of Consort Ping's assassination. Find out who the mastermind is within 3 days." "Yes." Su Huanda cupped his fists and said in a deep voice. Another middle-aged Imperial House protector said, "During the investigation, no matter who it is, you don't have to worry. You must find the mastermind within 3 days. If there's any delay, the Secret Guardians Hall will be held responsible." "Yes," Su Huanda said in a deep voice. The two middle-aged Imperial House protectors saluted Prince Bao with their fists and turned to leave, ignoring King Jing and King Qing. King Qing pursed his lips, dissatisfied with their arrogance. King Jing, on the other hand, was extremely calm. He only stared at Su Huanda. Prince Bao sighed. "Commander Su, you're in trouble." Su Huanda smiled bitterly. "This is our dereliction of duty, so we can only try our best to make up for it. Centurion Chu, you'll have to handle this personally." Chu Li gave a fist salute without hesitation. "It's my duty." "Humph, how arrogant." King Qing glanced at him disdainfully. Chu Li looked at King Qing. "Does King Qing think that I can't find anything? Do you really think that there's no case that you can't investigate?" King Qing curled his lips and said, "The person is gone, where are you going to investigate?" Chu Li asked, "Commander Su, what did the murderer leave behind?" "A treasured armor and a blade," Su Huanda said. He pointed to the corner of the wall. Chu Li walked over and picked up the unusually soft and tough golden singlet. It looked like it was woven from golden threads, but the golden threads were definitely not this tough. He held the singlet between his palms and clasped his palms together to strike them. "It is indeed a treasured armor," Chu Li said. "It was able to weaken the palm force by 60 to 70%. For a peak expert, this was like facing an expert 2 levels lower. This isn't something that just anyone can have." Su Huanda sighed. "As far as I know, this is made from the silk of the fairy spider. The fairy spider is unique to the Qiu dynasty and can't be found anywhere else." It really is the Qiu dynasty," Prince Bao sneered. Su Huanda said, "But you shouldn't have taken out something that could easily reveal your identity. Also, this saber is no ordinary saber. It's a treasured saber made by the Royal Saber Palace, and it can truly cut through iron as if it were mud." Prince Bao frowned. He did not dare to say that it was definitely the Qiu dynasty as the flaw was too obvious. King Qing said, "Don't tell me it's on purpose so that we won't suspect the Qiu dynasty and will think that someone is framing the Qiu dynasty?" "That's possible." Su Huanda nodded. Chu Li picked up the treasure blade and looked at it. Then, he turned his head and said, "Commander Su, shall we take action?" "I'll go with you," Su Huanda said. Chu Li nodded and gave a fist salute. Royal Highness Jing, Royal Highness Jing, let's go and catch the accomplice first." "I'll go too." Prince Bao scoffed. I'd like to see who exactly harmed fourth daughter-in-law. All right. Chu Li nodded slowly. But Your Royal Highness, please don't ask too many questions and don't speak. No problem, Prince Bao agreed without hesitation. King Qing wanted to go too. Before he could speak, Chu Li said, Royal Highness Qing and Royal Highness Jing, please help us deal with the aftermath. We'll be back soon. Go, King Jing said in a low voice. King Qing glared at him resentfully. Waving his hand to dismiss the protectors, Prince Bao followed Chu Li and glided away. They left the main road and entered small alleys. Under the all-seeing divine power, the owner of the treasure armor and the treasure blade were like a torch in the dark night, clearly visible. Soon, the three of them arrived at a residence. Chu Li leaped over the wall and arrived at the bedroom. An old man was lying motionless on the bed. He was already dead. There was an overturned wine pot in front of the bed. It was obvious that he had drunk poisoned wine. Chu Li took out a spirit blessing pill and stuffed it into the old man's mouth. Then, he quickly patted the old man's body a few times. Prince Bao did not say anything, but he guessed that this old man was the accomplice. Otherwise, he would not have committed suicide. What a resolute man! Su Huanda picked up the old man's wrist and checked his pulse. After a cup of tea, Su Huanda nodded. He's alive. Chu Li said, leave the rest to the public house. They're better at it. Leave it to us. Su Huanda said coldly. If he wants to die, it won't be that easy. He sealed the old man's acupuncture point and carried him on his back. Chu Li said, Commander Su, I'm not needed for the rest. I won't be returning to the public house. Su Huanda nodded. All right, you be careful too. Chu Li fist saluted. Su Huanda fist saluted Prince Bao and glided away. King Cheng looked at Chu Li's disappearing silhouette and scoffed. He really thinks he's invincible, the first chief of Fairy's capital. King Jing frowned. Don't speak ill of people behind their backs. Sixth brother, this brat is too arrogant. We need to teach him a lesson. King Ching said. Let him know his place. Didn't he just beat Lung Tao up twice? King Jing said. You've spoiled your son too much. He deserves to be beaten. If he didn't, I was prepared to find a chance to teach him a lesson. If you continue to spoil him, he'll definitely cause big trouble. No matter what, young Tao is still an imperial crown prince. Who does Chu Li think he is? He's just a protector. King Qing scoffed. He's rank 1, higher than all of us. King Jing said. King Qing scoffed but did not refute. The rank system was the foundation of the Ji dynasty. It could not be shaken. Even princes had to respect it. Both of them were born into good families, but their ranks were not high enough. While they were talking, Chu Li and Prince Bao returned. Prince Bao entered and said, Sixth brother, ninth brother, I need to continue hosting the hunting ceremony. I'll leave this place to you. Uncle Bao, you're back so soon. Did you find your accomplice? King Qing asked. Yes, Prince Bao said. I've handed him over to the secret guardians hall for interrogation. I think we'll have news soon. Chu Li, let's go. Chu Li nodded and fist saluted King Jing and King Qing. He then left the imperial residence with Prince Bao. King Qing stared at them blankly. King Jing shook his head and summoned the scribes and maids. He ordered them to do everything in an orderly manner. He was smart and capable. Prince Bao and Chu Li rode side by side at the front of the group. The 8 protectors followed closely behind them. They were tense and their eyes swept around to guard against assassinations. Consort Ping's death was a lesson to be learned. They could not let their guard down for even a moment. How miraculous! Prince Bao exclaimed. He was filled with emotion when he saw how easy it was for Chu Li to find his accomplice. Chu Li said, Your Royal Highness, it's just a small trick. It's not worth mentioning. It's not worth mentioning. You're too humble. Prince Bao shook his head. It's not luck that you've made such a name for yourself. I can see that Su Huanda values you a lot. A tall tree attracts the wind. The two commanders are afraid that I'll be in the limelight and become the enemy of all the secret guardians. That's why they asked me to go into isolated cultivation. Chu shook his head and smiled bitterly. I didn't expect to encounter this as soon as I came out of isolated cultivation. Even God won't let you go. Prince Bao laughed. His heavy heart was relieved. Although the fairy's capital was not stable, there was still a strange person like Chu. There was no need to worry too much. They went out of the east gate and galloped their horses. They soon caught up with Xiao Shi and her group. Chapter 955. Chu bid farewell to Prince Bao and returned to Shao Qi's side. What happened? Xiao Shi covered her face with a white veil and stared at him with her deep, bright eyes. Chu shook his head. You'll know when you get back. It's better not to say. Qiao San. Lung Tao, who had been listening attentively, raised his voice and shouted. Imperial Crown Prince. Qiao San was following behind the protectors of King An's imperial residence, and was only 10 steps away. When he heard Ling Tao's call, Qiao San quickly went forward and fist saluted. Imperial Crown Prince, what can I do for you? What happened in the town? Ling Tao scoffed. This Qiao San was meticulous in his work and knew how to serve others. He was exceptionally quick-witted and did everything without any instructions. It was as if he was an extension of his arm. He was very useful. Qiao San looked around with a troubled expression. There's no one else here. Just say it. Lung Tao scoffed. Qiao San lowered his voice. I heard that Consort Ping was assassinated. Chu looked at Lung Tao helplessly. Lung Tao cried out, Fourth Ant is dead? Yes. Qiao San nodded. How is that possible? Lung Tao was in disbelief. The protectors of King Ping's imperial residence were very strict. Those protectors were experienced generals who were better at killing people than martial arts masters. Yet, they could not protect Consort Ping and was killed. Qiao San lowered his voice. That's what the news says. Lung Tao looked at Chu. Head Chief Chu, is it true? Chu looked at the ladies whose expressions had changed. Why do you have to say this? It'll affect everyone's mood. Who the F***ck still has the mood? Lung Tao shouted. Chu said impatiently, she's dead, but we still have to live our lives. People die every moment in this world. So, she's really dead? Lung Tao asked. Chu nodded. Dead. Lung Tao mumbled in disbelief, dead? He had always thought that he was far away from death, since he was the descendant of the emperor. Consort Ping's death was like a flood that rushed toward him. It turned out that death was so close to him. Xiao Shi sat on the horse lazily and said, It's just an assassination. Look at you. Ling Qiu and Ling Qing were in a daze at first, but when they heard Xiao Shi's clear voice, they snapped back to reality. It was not the first time that the consort had been assassinated, but she was still alive and well. Therefore, assassinations were not that scary. The guards of the prince's mansion were strong enough. Ling Tao raised his head to take a look and met Xiao Shi's deep and bright eyes with a faint smile. He blushed and turned his head away. Xiao Shi turned her head towards Chu. Who did it? Chu said, I can't say for sure now. I'm still investigating. How dare you? Aren't you afraid of King Ping's revenge? I know, right? Xiao Shi looked at his perfunctory expression. It was obvious that he did not want to talk about it. She rolled her eyes at him and did not ask any more. Chu and Prince Bao stood on top of the tower. He gazed at the distant battle between the cavalrymen on the prairie. Before Ling Tao could come back to his senses, a small mistake was seized by his opponent and he was utterly defeated. Prince Bao could not stop shaking his head as he watched. Footsteps were heard. A protector in black went up the tower and went up the stairs. He was a secret guardian from the secret guardians' hall. Chu turned to look at him. Qi Meng. Centurion Chu, this is a letter from Commander Su. Qi Meng handed over a letter with both hands. Chu Li took it. Thank you. Qi Meng took a step back. Chu Li quickly scanned the letter and passed it to Prince Bao. Prince Bao's face darkened after he read it. It's them. Chu Li took the letter and gently rubbed it into powder. He sighed. I didn't expect it to be them. He turned to look at Qi Meng. Thank you for your trouble. Tell Commander Su that I got it. Qi Meng, don't let anyone know that you sent me this letter. There was never this letter. You're here because Commander Su summoned me back. Yes. Qi Meng fist saluted and retreated to the staircase. He then turned around and went down the stairs, riding his horse and galloping away. Both of them held onto the exquisite railing that was carved with flowers and plants. They looked at the prairie in silence. Gusts of wind blew. Prince Bao's purple robe and Chu Li's white robe fluttered. After a while, Prince Bao said, Do you think the Emperor will hide this news from King Ping? How can we guess the Emperor's thoughts? Chu Li shook his head. But from what I can see, the Emperor doesn't plan to fight on two fronts. It's already hard enough to deal with the Li dynasty. If he starts a war on another front, the country won't be able to handle it. In the end, yes. Prince Bao sighed and shook his head. It'll be hard on King Ping. If the Emperor keeps this from King Ping, he's afraid that the father and son will turn against each other. Chu Li frowned. Only the three of us know the truth now. Including the Emperor, there are only 4 of us. If King Ping finds out one day, we won't be able to escape responsibility. No one knows if the Emperor will vent his anger on us. I'll advise my brother to be honest with King Ping. Prince Bao nodded. Even if the Emperor did not vent his anger on him, he would lose the Emperor's favor. The consequences would be severe, so he had to nip it in the bud. Chu Li, you should enter the imperial court and become an official. You'll definitely rise to a high position. Prince Bao smiled. Chu Li was meticulous and sharp. He could always predict danger in advance and eliminate it. If he entered the imperial court, he would be like a fish in water. Chu Li smiled. I'm just a martial artist. How can I become an official in the imperial court? I prefer to be free and unfettered. Prince Bao nodded. That's true. Once you become an official, you'll be tied to a rope. Now that the Li dynasty and the Qiu dynasty are going to fight, do you think we should take advantage of the situation and teach the Li dynasty a lesson? I think we should fight, but we don't have to fight too fiercely. It'll be enough to distract some of the troops so that the Li dynasty won't be able to focus on the Qiu dynasty. Won't that benefit the Qiu dynasty? If we don't fight, the Li dynasty will benefit. We have to choose the lesser of two evils. The Li dynasty is no match for the Qiu dynasty. Even if we don't take advantage of them, they'll still lose. They might even be destroyed by the Qiu dynasty. Your Royal Highness, don't forget that there's still the Fu dynasty. Chu Li shook his head. They won't allow the Qiu dynasty to destroy the Li dynasty. The Fu dynasty. Prince Bao gritted his teeth and scoffed. They're a sh*t stirrer. Chu Li smiled and nodded. The Fu dynasty regarded themselves as the leader of all the countries. In order to prevent the other 4 countries from challenging their position, they had been sowing discord and not allowing 2 neighboring countries to have a harmonious relationship. Otherwise, they would not be able to sit still. Once 2 or even 3 countries joined forces, the Fu dynasty would not be able to withstand it no matter how strong they were. Even if they could win, their vitality would be greatly damaged and the losses would outweigh the gains. Prince Bao sighed. This is the sorrow of a weak country. However, we don't have to worry about these things. Let the Emperor worry about it. We'll just listen to his orders. Chu Li nodded. Given their status, they could not decide these things. They could only talk about it. When the hunting ceremony ended and Chu Li and the others returned to King An's imperial residence, everyone in the city knew that Consort Ping had been assassinated. Everyone was panicking. If Consort Ping could be assassinated, who would be safe? On the other hand, King An's imperial residence was as stable as usual. They had experienced many assassinations, whether it was the various martial arts sects of the Ji dynasty or the Li dynasty's Holy Church of Light. They had all come to King An's imperial residence, but none of them had succeeded. After lunch, Chu Li was talking to Shao Qi and Shao Shi in Tianshu courtyard. He told Shao Shi about Consort Ping's assassination and how a few protectors had committed suicide, which made Shao Shi feel rather sad. Suddenly, Zhu Tianhua's voice was heard from outside. "Head Chief, there's a protector with the surname Qi who wishes to see you." "Let him in," Chu Li said. A moment later, Qi Meng, who was dressed in black, strode in and gave a fist salute. "Greetings, Centurion." Chu Li waved a hand. "What's the matter?" Qi Meng looked around. Chapter 956. He closed fist saluted Shao Qi and Shao Shi. The two ladies waved their hands. He brought Qi Meng to his courtyard. Ling Qiu and Ling Qing participated in the hunting ceremony and went back to rest. There was no one in the courtyard and it was very quiet. "Speak." Chu Li turned to face Qi Meng. "Commander Su has left the fairy's capital. Before he left, he told me to tell the Centurion that I will follow you from now on." Qi Meng looked around and lowered his voice. Chu Li frowned. "Left the fairy's capital?" "Yes, to guard the imperial mausoleum." Qi Meng nodded. Chu Li's face darkened. "What else did Commander Su say?" Qi Meng shook his head. "He didn't say anything else. He just told me to inform the Centurion that you will understand. You will be in Mei Air Courtyard from now on." Chu Li nodded. "Where's the commander?" "The commander seems to have gone out for something and hasn't returned. Commander Su didn't tell anyone. He left quietly and only told me to inform the Centurion," Qi Meng said. Chu Li's expression calmed down. "I understand." Qi Meng said, "Commander Su also told me not to tell anyone that I went to deliver the letter." Chu Li shook his head and sighed. "There's no need. Since the Emperor was so careful, he wouldn't care whether or not Commander Su wrote a letter to him. Since there was a connection, he would conclude that he knew about this matter. However, he might not make a move against him. It was enough to use Commander Su to warn him." Qi Meng said, "Don't worry, Centurion. I won't tell anyone. Be careful. If word gets out that Commander Su went to guard the Imperial Mausoleum, you will lose your life." Chu Li said, "Go." "Yes." Qi Meng's expression changed. He closed fist saluted and left. Chu Li slowly walked to Tianshu courtyard. Xiao Shi looked at him with concern. Xiao Qi's eyes were calm but she stared at him. "What happened?" Xiao Shi asked. Chu Li explained the situation and the two women's faces darkened. Xiao Shi frowned. "Why don't you pretend to be sick and say that you went astray during cultivation? You need to go into isolated cultivation to recuperate. It's useless." Xiao Qi said, "Just act like usual. Don't do anything or you will feel guilty." "I'm worried about Commander Su." Chu Li shook his head. "The Emperor will silence them?" Xiao Shi frowned. Chu Li said, "Who knows? I really don't understand the Emperor's temperament." "No," Shao Qi replied. "This is too disappointing. After all, Commander Su isn't an ordinary secret guardian." "I hope so." Chu Li sighed. The tree of life and death appeared once again. The heavenly demonic orb hung on its branches and slowly disappeared along with the tree. All of his inner energy had disappeared and dispersed outside his body. Then, the inner energy of the divine light technique began to rise inside his body. He had recovered about half of it. The next moment, he appeared outside Gale City. As the sun set, he stepped into the East City Gate and slowly walked along the bustling street to the Radiance Clan. The two huge stone lions in front of the Radiance Clan were lifelike. Their imposing manner deterred people from approaching them. Two strong guards stood side by side with the huge stone lion, their eyes sharp and fierce. When Chu Li arrived at the bottom of the stairs, two protectors stepped forward and stared at him. Unauthorized personnel, please step back. Do not come any closer. Chu Li took out a metal tag from his pocket and showed it to the guard. The two protectors were stunned and quickly gave him a fist salute. Please wait, distinguished guest. I'll go in and inform you immediately. When Chu Li first built the Radiance clan, he had made this metal tag. The word Radiance was written on one side of the tag and the word Zhao was written on the other side. Those who held this tag were distinguished guests of the Radiance clan and should not be neglected. Ko Chiong hurried out and gave him a fist salute. Young master, you're finally here. Chu Li waved his hand to indicate that there was no need to be so polite and entered the main door. Ko Chiong humbly bowed and followed behind him, which shocked the two protectors. Ko Chiong knew that Chu Li did not like to be ostentatious and kept a low profile, so he led him to the main hall and personally served him a cup of tea. Young master, if you didn't come, we'd have to ask you for help. These people are too much. Chu Li frowned. Flaming Sun sect? It's those B******stards. Ko Chiong said angrily. They're robbing our people. As long as we recruit someone, they'll immediately poach him. Is there no way to deal with them? We can't possibly go against them, can we? We're weak and can't overpower them, Ko Chiong said. Chu Li asked, what about the other two sects? The White Tiger sect is quite obedient and the Tian Luo sect is good too. It's just that the Flaming Sun sect is disgusting, Ko Chiong said angrily. They just won't fall out with us. Lu Xiaofeng even came over to explain that they're also short of people and that we should compete fairly. Chu Li slowly nodded. All right, it's fine if we can't recruit anyone. Ko Chiong was surprised. Young master, are you just passing by or are you going to stay here? I'm staying here. Chu Li scoffed. The saints sent me here for a while. I'm going to cultivate in isolation, so don't disturb me if there's nothing important. That's great. Ko Chiong clapped his hands excitedly. Chu Li glared at him coldly. Ko Chiong quickly chuckled. Now we have a backbone. With young master around, we have nothing to fear. We couldn't defeat the Flaming Sun sect before, so we could only endure it. This time, if they dare to mess with us again, we'll show them what we're made of. From today onwards, the Radiance clan will be changed to Gale Branch, Chu Li said. We won't recruit anyone below perfected innate mastery. Quality over quantity. Yes. Ko Chiong nodded excitedly. Chu Li waved his hand. Hurry up and find me a place to cultivate in isolation, and prepare a table of good dishes. All right. Ko Chiong energetically summoned a young man and instructed him. Both of them arrived at an elegant courtyard that was only 3 residences away from the Radiance clan. They could reach it in the blink of an eye. This is our original residence. Ko Chiong smiled. Young master, are you satisfied with it? It's all right. Chu Li nodded. This is it. Don't disturb me if there's nothing important. If I'm not here, I'm just going out for a stroll. Don't make a fuss. Yes, yes. Ko Chiong quickly nodded. He finally understood that young master had been sent away to live a carefree life with no one to care about him. Soon, a table of dishes was served. Chu Li could tell at a glance that it was the work of the 9-star tower's chef. He nodded in satisfaction. Ko Chiong was the best at this. As he lowered his head to eat, he suddenly looked up. Li Rulan floated down from the courtyard wall. Her green tunic fluttered, and the white veil on her face swayed. Chu Li looked at her in surprise. Senior sister, you're here so soon? I'm here to give you something. Li Rulan scoffed. She took out a jade flute from her sleeve and gently blew it. Instantly, 3 flute sounds were heard. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew, and a pigeon-like bird descended from the sky. It was snow-white and flawless, and its eyes were lively. It stood on Li Rulan's shoulder and stared at Chu Li curiously. This is a sky patrol pigeon. You can use it to communicate with the Church of Light, Li Rulan said. The saint will send a letter directly if she has any instructions. Sky patrol pigeon. Chu Li looked at the bird and smiled. How does it taste? If you dare to hurt it, you'll be chased out of the Great Light Peak. Li Ruolin scoffed. Chu Li nodded. All right, I'll treat it like a treasure. Chapter 957. P.S. Update completed. My fingernails don't hurt as much anymore. Li Ruolin scoffed. You really have to treat it like a treasure. It's incredibly fast, much faster than our light body technique. How long will it take to send a message to the Great Light Peak? Chu Li asked. It'll take half a day, Li Ruolin replied calmly. Chu Li was shocked. Li Ruolin said, in terms of physical talent, humans are far inferior to these beasts. That's true. Chu Li brought an armchair over and gestured for her to sit. Li Ruolin gracefully sat on the armchair. Her movements were graceful and graceful. Are you able to stay here? Very well. Chu Li nodded. Look at how carefree I am. I don't have to worry about anything with someone serving me. I just have to focus on isolated cultivation. It won't take long for me to recover my martial arts. Don't cause any more trouble here. Li Ruolin frowned. The atmosphere in the church is very tense now. Something happened. Chu Li was surprised. What happened? Li Ruolin shook her head. A senior brother from the Fourth Peak sneaked into the Ji dynasty's fairies' capital and assassinated consort Ping. Chu Li frowned. Assassinated? Yes. Li Ruolin slowly said, the saint lost her temper because of this, but everyone doesn't understand. They think it's okay to kill King Ping's consort. Although it's a little dishonorable, King Ping has killed so many people from the Li dynasty. Chu Li scoffed. It's dishonorable indeed. If you're so capable, go assassinate King Ping. What's the point of killing a woman who doesn't know martial arts? Moreover, we haven't even dealt with the Li dynasty yet. If we provoke the Ji dynasty, won't we be asking for trouble? Are we helping or framing them? You think too much, Li Ruolin said impatiently. Don't spout nonsense. Chu Li replied, why can't I tell the truth? Could it be that this fellow was someone with a great background? He deserves to die for doing such a thing. He's from the Fourth Peak and has a high cultivation level. Li Ruolin shook her head. He's also an Outer Mountain disciple, just like you. Chu Li frowned. Li Ruolin said, that's why everyone is rejecting the Outer Mountain disciples once again. They're telling the saint that they want to reduce the quota of Outer Mountain disciples. If it wasn't for the saint's high prestige, everyone would have forced the saint to cancel the quota of Outer Mountain disciples a long time ago. The Outer Mountain disciples are indeed unreliable. They don't know their background and are prone to accident. Chu Li nodded. What everyone said makes sense. Li Ruolin looked at him in surprise. Chu Li asked, why are you looking at me? This doesn't sound like something you'd say, Li Ruolin said. Chu Li had always been arrogant and looked down on everyone. He looked down on these disciples from the Great Light Peak, so she found it strange that he was suddenly praising them. Chu Li said, I'm just telling the truth. Li Ruolin sighed and said, the saint is very angry now. If I really cause trouble, the consequences will be unimaginable. With the saint around, who would dare to cause trouble? Chu Li curled his lips disapprovingly. What's wrong with that guy? Why does he have to court death? Is he dead? He has already entered the Great Light Surpassing state. Li Ruolin shook her head and said, only those who have the determination to die can finally enter the Great Light Surpassing state. Then the Ji dynasty is going to attack, right? Can King Ping hold back? Chu Li said, it's going to be another war. Li Ruolin nodded gently. It'll be very troublesome. Chu Li said, let's fight. Are we going to beg the Ji dynasty not to fight? We can't win. Li Ruolin shook her head. It's already very difficult to fight the Li dynasty. We've already sent out all the people in the church. If the Ji dynasty joins in, we'll definitely lose. Chu Li said disapprovingly, what should we do then? We can only think of a way to assassinate King Ping. Li Rulan sighed and said, The saint has been planning this for the past 2 days. Assassinate King Ping? Chu Li shook his head and laughed. If it's really possible to assassinate King Ping, it would have been done a long time ago. The last time we tried to assassinate him, it was ruined by Chu Li. Li Rulan scoffed and said, This Chu Li is a genius at such a young age. He's meticulous and sharp. He's a great enemy of the church. Isn't that easy? Chu Li curled his lips and said, We'll just kill him as well. Can't we kill Chu Li after assassinating King Ping? He said his own name calmly, as if he was talking about a stranger. Do you know who Chu Li is? Li Rulan scoffed and said, Assassinate him? We'll be lucky if he doesn't assassinate us. Chu Li asked, What kind of great person is he? Li Rulan scoffed and said, The centurion of the Ji dynasty's secret guardians hall, the head chief of King An's imperial residence, the chief of the public house's glories will courtyard. In short, he's an extremely powerful person. Not only is he highly intelligent, but he's also highly skilled in martial arts. It's not that we haven't tried to assassinate him, it's just that we can't. I don't believe it. The church has so many martial arts masters. How can we not kill a young martial arts master? Chu Li shook his head. There aren't that many martial arts masters who actually leave the mountain. Li Rulan said, Almost all the disciples above the 4 peaks don't leave the mountain anymore. Why? Chu Li asked. Li Rulan said, Those who leave the mountain before turning 100 years old will never leave the mountain again. This is an established rule. There's such a rule? Chu Li was surprised. Li Rulan said, Look at the world now. How many martial arts masters are over 100 years old? They've all gone into seclusion to cultivate. Those who walk the martial arts world are all martial arts masters below 100 years old. Chu Li nodded thoughtfully. Also, after this incident, you won't be in a good situation. Because I'm an outer mountain disciple. Yes. Li Rulan said sternly, Your background will make it harder for you to advance. Moreover, the saint has the intention to train you. Don't think about advancing in a short period of time. Focus on cultivating your martial arts. That's great. I want to take a break too. It's okay to take a break, but don't delay your cultivation. Martial arts is the foundation of everything. If we fight with the Ji dynasty again, you might have a chance. Chu Li said lazily, Then I hope the Ji dynasty dares to make a move. They seem to be afraid of us. They won't dare to take the initiative to attack. They're not powerful enough. Of course, they won't dare to make a move. Li Rulan scoffed. If they surpass us in terms of strength, they would have attacked long ago. I'm leaving. If there's any news, send the patrol pigeon here. It will look for me directly. All right. Chu Li nodded. It's idle anyway. I'll write to you when I'm free. Li Rulan rolled her eyes at him. Then, she turned around and fluttered out of the house. She disappeared in the blink of an eye. Chu Li sat in the armchair and sized up the patrol pigeon. It was also sizing him up. Chu Li could read its mind. He poured a glass of wine and handed it to it. The patrol pigeon lowered its head and sipped. Soon, it finished the glass of wine. Then, it let out a clear cry and spread its long wings. It flew out of the house and let out a clear cry in the sky. It looked like a pigeon standing on the table. Once it spread its wings, it looked like an eagle. With such long wings and powerful flapping, it was of course very fast. It was not surprising that it could fly back and forth in half a day. After Chu Li finished his meal, Ko Chiong ordered someone to clean up the table and left. Chapter 958. After thinking for a while, he suddenly disappeared from the bed and appeared in his own room in the imperial residence of King An. He sat on the bed and began to cultivate. For the time being, there was no need to worry about Gale City. Ko Chiong and the others were his trusted subordinate. Even if there were any abnormalities, They would not say anything and would turn a blind eye to it. Moreover, he had already informed them in advance. Moreover, Gale City was very stable. The four sects were busy dealing with the martial arts world of the Great Li dynasty and did not have the time to cause trouble. Stability was the priority, so there was nothing to worry about. He had complete freedom in Gale City and could return to King Anne's imperial residence at any time. After a night of cultivation, he did not make any progress. His current cultivation level was profound, so a night of cultivation would not make much progress. The next morning, Leng Qiu and Ling Qing came over early to practice their swordsmanship. Chu Li also practiced his swordsmanship, the less ultimate sword. The secret of the less ultimate sword was that it had no weaknesses. Logically speaking, there was no such thing as a flawless sword technique in the world. Every sword technique had its flaws. As the saying goes, flawless. Only heavenly clothes could be flawless, and it was even more impossible for sword techniques to be flawless. It all depended on whether one could make use of their strengths and avoid their weaknesses. However, the lesser ultimate sword technique was different. It was different from the other sword technique. It was a truly simple and exquisite sword technique. The sword momentum was continuous and circular, just like the Taiji sword technique he had seen in his previous life. However, the lesser ultimate sword art was not soft. Not only did it not focus on gentleness, it was also extremely fast. It was as if drawing a circle would make the sword move even faster. It was as if using a centrifugal force to accelerate the sword. It was extremely mysterious. Chu Li was very interested in this set of less ultimate sword. He felt that it was extremely mysterious and contained the mysteries of heaven and earth. He needed to study it carefully and integrate it into the 7 forms of godly sword. However, this sword technique was exquisite, and it wasn't something that could be comprehended in a short period of time. Even someone as smart as him had to carefully analyze many areas. As he was practicing his swordsmanship, a knock came from the door. "Centurion, it's me, Yang Zongwen. Come in." Chu Li stopped wielding his sword. Yang Zongwen pushed open the door and entered the courtyard. His figure was tall and slender, and he still looked refined. He cupped his fists and greeted, "Centurion." He cupped his fists and bowed to the 2 girls who were practicing their swords. Chu Li waved his hand and pointed at the stone table. Then, he sat down. Yang Zongwen sat opposite him. Chu Li asked, "Why are you here so early? Is there something urgent?" "Yes." Yang Zongwen said, "Commander Su resigned from his position as the deputy commander due to his guilt over the assassination of Princess Consort Ping and asked to guard the imperial mausoleum on his own." "I already know." Chu Li nodded. "Yesterday, a new deputy commander arrived." Chu Li frowned. "So soon?" It was as if he couldn't wait to take over. Yang Zongwen shook his head and sighed. "This new deputy commander is really," Chu Li asked, "what happened?" Yang Zongwen frowned. "He seems to be hostile towards our May Air courtyard. He said that he wants the Centurion to meet him tomorrow." "Where did he come from?" "His name is Guyu. He used to be a protector of the imperial house. His cultivation level is very high and he's overbearing." Yang Zongwen said, "It feels like he's more like commander than commander. Commander seems to be afraid of him and listens to him for everything. Looks like he has a strong background." Chu Li nodded. "He's a descendant of a family of generals. His father was a general, but he died on the battlefield. That's why the emperor thinks highly of him. He's been serving in the imperial palace and is considered quite a popular person. No wonder. He's young and impetuous. He's already 63 years old. He's been sent out to train and his methods are very forceful." Chu Li nodded. Yang Zongwen said, "He said that our May Air courtyard is too idle." "Centurion, you don't look like a centurion." Chu Li smiled faintly. "Looks like he's going to make an example out of me." That seems to be the case. Yang Zongwen's expression was solemn. May Air Courtyard is in the limelight. He has to take us down to intimidate the other courtyards. We'll have to see what he's capable of, Chu said. Yang Zongwen hurriedly asked, Centurion, what do you want to do? Since he said so, I'll pay him a visit tomorrow, Chu said. It's best if you don't meet him. Yang Zongwen sighed. The Centurion was stubborn and would rather break than bend. It was the same for Commander Gu, who had just arrived. If the two of them met, there would definitely be a violent conflict. However, it would not be appropriate to avoid meeting him. The Centurion would think that the Centurion was looking down on him. Initially, there was still a chance to turn things around. Now that it had turned into a confrontation, it would be even more difficult. After all, he was the deputy commander. Chu said, If I don't meet him, he'll definitely deal with you. We have nothing to fear, Yang Zongwen said. We're not doing anything anyway. We'll just get through this. Chu shook his head and laughed. We haven't even met him yet. How can we just go and meet him? It's not like he's the emperor. There's nothing we can do. Yang Zongwen scoffed. He thinks we're weak. Are we supposed to just let him do whatever he wants? He's the deputy commander. Doesn't the commander have to beg you, Centurion? Chu laughed. You're more arrogant than I am. We're the Centurion's men. Yang Zongwen smiled. But Centurion, are the results of the assassination of Consort Ping out? Chu shook his head. I've only captured her. I don't know what the results are. Don't you know the rules of the Secret Guardians Hall? Don't ask about things that you shouldn't. It won't do you any good. Yes, Yang Zongwen answered solemnly. He immediately understood that this was not a trivial matter and that it was very dangerous. Chu waved his hand. Go tell everyone not to go against the new deputy commander. Yes, Yang Zongwen said. I'll tell everyone to be more obedient. Okay, Chu replied. Yang Zongwen tactfully bid farewell and left. Chu sat by the stone table and pondered. Guyu had targeted him as soon as he arrived. He wanted to find out more about his background. Su Wanda's face was as cold as steel, but he was a fair person who would not trip up others. He was a good superior that was hard to come by. Fu Mengshan was sly, cold-blooded, and merciless. He only cared about benefits. As long as he was capable enough, he would protect him. However, Fu Mengshan was now avoiding Guyu. There must be some inside story behind this, and Guyu had to ask him about it. In the main hall of the Secret Guardians Hall, a tall and slender figure sat on the armchair in the middle of the hall. He wore a luxurious purple robe and had an ordinary appearance. He seemed to be in his 60s, but his eyes were bright and piercing as if he could see through one's heart. He was staring coldly at him. Liang scoffed. Is Centurion Chu here? Commander Gu, Centurion Chu isn't here yet. Liang shook his head. Centurion Chu doesn't usually attend the morning roll call. If he's here, he'll go straight to May Air Courtyard. He usually doesn't come here. Humph, is he really the Centurion of the Secret Guardians Hall? Guyu scoffed. Liang said. He's also the head chief of King An's imperial residence. He has a lot of trivial matters, so he rarely comes here. He'll only be summoned when there's a case and he's needed. It seems like the commander is very accommodating to him. Guyu scoffed. Liang nodded. Yes, both the commander and Commander Su are accommodating to him. That's why the people in May Air Courtyard are so arrogant. They usually don't care about us. Very well. Guyu scoffed. Liang said, Commander Gu, be careful. Centurion Chu's subordinates are all elite. Although they're arrogant, they have the right to be. Commander, you're new here, so it's best not to offend them. I'd like to see how arrogant he really is. Guyu said faintly. How long has it been since he came to the Secret Guardians Hall? About half a year, I guess. Liang said. Guyu sneered. Isolated cultivation sure is leisurely and carefree. Commander Gu, Centurion Chu has arrived at May Air Courtyard. A report came from outside. Ask him to come see me. Gu Yu scoffed. Liang quickly said, Commander Gu, I'll go there myself. Chapter 959. P.S. The 33rd Alliance leader has been born, Huan Yizheng. P.S. I wanted to add more chapters today, but the more I wanted to write, the more I couldn't. My head hurts. When Liang arrived at May Air Courtyard, he saw Chu Li drinking tea at the stone table in the courtyard. There were some files on the stone table. He was drinking tea while reading the files with a focused expression. Yang Zongwen stood at the side to serve him. The rest of the people were training in the martial arts field. It was bustling with noise and laughter could be heard from time to time. The May Air Courtyard had the most grandmasters, and this was publicly acknowledged by all the secret guardians. Moreover, these grandmasters were extremely loyal to Chu Li. After all, they were all saved by Chu Li, and he had given them a new lease on life. Liang sighed to himself. This kind of luck was something that no one could be envious of. If he had so many grandmasters supporting him, he could also do whatever he wanted in the secret guardians' hall. No one would care about him, and he could do whatever he wanted. Brother. Yang Zongwen fist saluted. Chu Li looked up. Greetings, Centurion Chu. Liang fist saluted and smiled. It's been a while. Centurion Chu, you look better than before. Congratulations. What's the matter? Chu Li nodded. Liang said, Commander Gu wants to see you. Sit down and talk. Chu Li pointed at the stone bench opposite him. Liang was helpless. He could only sit opposite him and move his butt uncomfortably. Chu Li's eyes were bright as if he could see through his thoughts. Your May Air Courtyard sure is free. Liang smiled. I really admire you. You can come to May Air Courtyard too. Chu Li said. Liang shook his head. I'm not that lucky. Chu Li said, What does this new Commander Gu want? Nothing. May Air Courtyard is too quiet. Liang said happily. I think it's a waste. There are so many grandmasters who only eat and don't work. How can I get used to it? He doesn't know about the situation in May Air Courtyard? Chu Li asked. Liang said, I've said it before. A new leader brings his own ministers. He's new, so he wants to change the rules. He's eager to make everyone listen to him. Chu Li muttered. Does he mean to make our May Air Courtyard move? Yes. Liang nodded. Chu Li asked, Is there anything else? He's also very curious about you, the famous Chief Steward Chu. Liang smiled. Chu Li nodded. All right then, I'll go and pay my respects. Liang cupped his fists and smiled. Please? He knew how powerful Chu Li was because he had personally witnessed Chu Li's rapid rise from a secret guardian who was ostracized to a centurion in less than a year. Therefore, no matter who became a commander or a deputy commander, they would not be able to suppress Centurion Chu. Yang Zongwen looked at Chu Li worriedly. Chu Li waved his hand. It's not like it's a dragon's lair or a tiger's den. It's just a meeting. Then be careful, Centurion, Yang Zongwen said. Chu Li smiled. Follow? Liang arrived at the main hall. In the main hall, Gu Yu was deep in thought as he read the dossier. These files were all about the cases that Chu Li had solved. Chu Li's abilities were top secret, and there were no traces left on them. However, through the records of these cases, one could see that he was extraordinary and powerful. After reading these files, Gu Yu realized that Chu Li's reputation was well-deserved. If it were someone else, they would not have been able to solve these cases. It was no wonder that Fu Mengshan and Su Huan relied on him so much, even if he was the head chief of King An's imperial residence. Commander Gu, Centurion Chu is here. Liang reported from outside the hall. Come in, Gu Yu said in a deep voice. He raised his head and straightened his back, his eyes bright and threatening. Chu Li stepped into the main hall and cupped his fist. Greetings, Commander Gu. His eyes met Gu Yu's for a moment before he looked away. Centurion Chu, I've long heard of your name in the Imperial House. Gu Yu smiled and extended his hand. We finally meet today. Please take a seat. Chu Li sat down with a fist salute. Centurion Chu, as soon as you came out of isolation, you came across Consort Ping's assassination case. You investigated it together with Commander Su, right? Gu Yu flashed a smile. His gaze was amiable and there was not a hint of fierceness in it. Instead, there was a sense of familiarity. Chu Li replied, it was a coincidence that the case was solved. Sigh. Gu Yu shook his head. Commander Su was really wronged. No one could have done anything when something like this happened. In the end, he could only resign and guard the Imperial Mausoleum. Chu Li nodded. Gu Yu kept the dossier and said nonchalantly, Commander Su did a good deed. He closed the case before he left and saved us a lot of trouble. I heard that Centurion Chu also helped us. Chu Li replied, I was only responsible for catching the accomplice. As for the rest, I could only leave it to Commander Su because I had to participate in the hunting ceremony. By the time I returned from the hunting ceremony, Commander Su had already left for Fairy's capital. It happened so quickly that I didn't even know what happened after that. I don't know if the mastermind was found. Didn't Commander Su tell you? Gu Yu was surprised. Chu Li said, I wanted to ask Commander Su but he had already left when I returned to the city. It seems like it didn't go well. Otherwise, Commander Su wouldn't have to resign. Gu Yu lamented, Commander Su was unlucky. It seems that the accomplice you caught was dead. Commander Su didn't get any information so he closed the case. Dead? Chu Li frowned. He took the spirit blessing pill. How could he be dead? He didn't survive the interrogation. Gu Yu spread his hands and sighed. Maybe Commander Su was too impatient and used too much force. That shouldn't be. Chu Li was still confused. He frowned. With the spirit blessing pill's effect, even the most severe interrogation wouldn't be fatal. If that's the case. Gu Yu was also confused. Is there something else? Most likely. Chu Li said, could it be that Commander Su got some information that he shouldn't have? Then, he saw that the situation was bad and could only protect himself? It can't be someone from the Ji dynasty, right? His expression changed as he looked at Gu Yu. Gu Yu's expression changed as well. He quickly waved his hand. Don't talk nonsense. Chu Li said in a low voice, it's possible. King Ping has a lot of achievements in the war and has worked hard, but he's also envied by others. If someone does something to Consort Ping and King Ping finds out, what will happen? The world will be in chaos. Centurion Chu. Gu Yu hurriedly waved his hand. Shut up. He strode to the entrance of the main hall and looked around before waving his hand. You may leave. There were 2 protectors outside the main hall. They quickly fist saluted and left. Gu Yu's expression changed as he returned to his seat and glared at Chu Li. Chu Li's expression darkened as well. He seemed to be angry that he had guessed the truth. Gu Yu sighed and said, You'll lose your head if you speak like this. You mustn't speak carelessly. Chu Li coldly said, Commander Su is really unlucky. Fortunately, I didn't participate in the interrogation and didn't know the details. Otherwise, as a centurion, I would have to guard the mausoleum with Commander Su. Chapter 960. Chu Li said, I didn't think about all of this, but after being enlightened by you, Commander Gu, I suddenly thought it through. It seems like I'm really not suited to be a servant in the Secret Guardians Hall. I might as well resign from my post as a secret guardian and be an honest head chief. There's still a lot of work to do in the Imperial residence. Ever since King An left the Imperial residence, I have to make decisions for everything. It's really a mess. On top of that, I've been in isolated cultivation for a while now and accumulated a lot of work. Please don't. Gu Yu quickly waved his hand. You're an elite of the Secret Guardians Hall. Chu Li shook his head. Elite is just a title. Being a secret guardian is so dangerous. I'll have to guard the Imperial Mausoleum or even lose my life if I come across any news. It's better for me to be a head chief. Hee hee. Gu Yu chuckled. Centurion Chu, you're worrying too much. How can there be so many dangerous things in this world? I'm guessing that Commander Su didn't find out who the mastermind was. Instead, it was because he couldn't find out who the mastermind was. The Emperor is extremely furious over Consort Ping's assassination attempt. Since Commander Fu isn't in Fairy's capital, the blame can only fall on Commander Su. Really? Chu Li frowned and hesitated. Gu Yu smiled. I'm from the Imperial House, so I know about this. That's good. Chu Li let out a long sigh of relief. He secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Gu Yu wanted to see if Chu Li knew about Commander Su's confession. If he did, he would have to silence him. As a centurion, he did not receive the same treatment as a deputy commander. He could not guard the Imperial Mausoleum even if he wanted to. He felt a chill down his spine. The Emperor really treated his courtiers like ants. He killed a rank 1 like him without mercy. Previously, he had thought that with his current level of cultivation and power, he would be able to protect himself. Now, it seemed like he was too naive. In the Emperor's eyes, a mere centurion or even the head chief of King An's imperial residence was not worth mentioning. Even the youth champion was insignificant. The Emperor could kill him whenever he wanted. He had to obtain more power and strive to reach the enlightened mastery's boundary as soon as possible to protect himself. Otherwise, his life and death would be in the hands of the Emperor. It was a terrible feeling. At this moment, his heart was surging with anger and motivation. He wanted to seize even more power at all costs, cultivate even faster, and reach the heavenly god realm. Heavenly deity realm. Now, it seemed like he had some hope of becoming a deity. There were almost no opponents in the younger generation, but if he wanted to become a deity, he would need to become a heavenly deity. He couldn't wait that long. He had to find a way to defy the heavens and become a god. Gu Yu had finally passed this hurdle. As long as he revealed the slightest hint that he knew the results of Commander Su's investigation, his little life would be over. He could run amok among the younger generation, but he could not defeat some hidden old monsters. Gu Yu smiled. Centurion Chu, you've gone into isolated cultivation. It's time for you to return to work, right? Chu Li shook his head. Commander Gu, I'm really busy now. I'll come back to the residence after a while. This. Gu Yu did not look too good. Chu Li replied, Commander Gu, you've just arrived, so you might not be aware of this. Mayor Courtyard doesn't accept ordinary cases, or else we'll be stealing everyone's livelihood. We'll only be mobilized for difficult cases. Oh? Gu Yu's expression became even worse. Chu Li meant that he usually did not do anything but only participated in major and difficult cases. He was really arrogant. Gu Yu had finally seen it. There are so many grandmasters in your May Air courtyard, but you're just idling around. There aren't enough grandmasters in the residence. Gu Yu frowned and his face darkened. Chu Li shook his head. The grandmasters in May Air courtyard need to conserve their energy. If they do some trivial matters, they won't be able to play a big role during critical moments. It'll be a sin if they delay important matters. Gu Yu's face darkened, but he did not say anything else. He dared not say that he would bear the responsibility. Otherwise, Chu Li would definitely instruct his subordinates to be negligent at critical moments. If they made a mistake, the responsibility would be pushed to him, and there would be endless trouble. Chu Li coughed softly. However, if Commander Gu really needs manpower, you can transfer it from May Air Courtyard. After all, there's Secret Guardians from Secret Guardians Hall. We can't just stand by and watch. Gu Yu's expression softened. He finally knew how to be a little respectful. Chu Li said, "If there's any difficult case, Commander Gu, feel free to look for me. If it's an ordinary case, the other courtyards in the residence are more than enough to handle it." "All right." Gu Yu's face darkened. He slowly nodded. "Thank you, Centurion Chu." Chu Li fist saluted. "I'll take my leave then." "All right, go ahead," Gu Yu slowly said. Looking at Chu Li's back, the veins on Gu Yu's hands bulged. He was extremely angry. Chu Li really lived up to his reputation. He did not even respect Gu Yu, a deputy commander. He was arrogant and difficult to control. Gu Yu had to use him to establish his authority. Otherwise, who in Secret Guardians Hall would obey him? Chu Li left the hall and secretly shook his head. This Gu Yu was another Fu Mengshan. He was a smiling tiger. He looked amiable, but his heart was filled with malicious thoughts. He always wanted to harm people. Chu Li and Gu Yu were not the same kind of people. They would fall out sooner or later. He could not rely on luck. Fu Mengshan hid in a corner and did not come out at all. Gu Yu's background was unknown. When he returned to Mei Air Courtyard, everyone surrounded him. Chu Li waved his hand. "All right, go do what you have to do. Don't worry." Dong Qifei said, "Centurion, did that Gu Yu come looking for trouble?" "No." Chu Li shook his head. "But he'll come looking for trouble sooner or later. Be careful. It's nothing. We'll just pretend to be sick." Dong Qifei scoffed. "If he's sick, do you expect us to insist on taking attendance? Don't go overboard." Chu Li shook his head. "You can't be too domineering. You'll anger everyone." "Yes." Dong Qifei nodded helplessly. "We'll be careful." Yang Zhongwen said, "He doesn't want to use us to establish his authority?" Chu Li laughed. "It's not that serious. But you have to be careful of his little tricks. I'll go back first." "Yes." Everyone fist saluted. Chu Li waved his hand and left the Secret Guardians Hall. He returned to his courtyard in King An's imperial residence and disappeared. Su Huanda was in a green robe. He was wielding a long sword. He was sweating profusely. His face was pale and there was a long wound on his left shoulder. He was being attacked by 4 masked men in black. The force of the blade was like a storm. The long sword was like a light screen protecting his body. Su Huanda's swordsmanship was extremely high. Although he was at a disadvantage, he did not collapse. He was struggling to hold on. Not far from them were 2 masked men in black. They were injured by Su Huanda. They lay motionless on the ground. It was unknown whether they were dead or alive. However, Su Huanda paid the price for injuring the 2 masked men in black. His inner energy was exhausted. He was like an arrow at the end of its flight. He could not hold on any longer. He sighed as he waved his sword. These 6 masked men in black had extremely high swordsmanship. They did not seem to be from any faction in the martial arts world. They were most likely Imperial House protectors. Could it be that the Emperor could not help but kill him? He could not accept it. He was not willing to die here. Chapter 961. Who are you people? Su Huanda shouted as he swung his sword. Although he was exhausted and could fall at any time, his sword was still moving as if he was not affected at all. It showed that he had a strong foundation, and the foundation of his swordsmanship was beyond imagination. He must have put in a lot of hard work and was showing it now. Hee. The 4 masked men in black smirked. They planned to say something to affect him and affect his condition. This guy was too difficult to deal with. He was about to be defeated, but he did not lose. It made them feel uneasy. "Can't you guess who we are?" One of the masked men in black shouted. "Do you want us to say it?" "I can't," Su Huanda said in a deep voice. "You just don't want to admit it." The masked man in black shook his head. "But if you don't want to admit it, we won't admit it either. So, you can be a muddled ghost." "Which prince sent you here?" Su Huanda asked with a snort. "Whatever you say." The masked man in black smirked. As long as you go to hell, you can say who you want. Su Huanda scoffed. Which prince? What do you think? The masked man in black smiled. Why don't you take a guess? Su Huanda fell silent. He knew that these people would not reveal anything. The more they behaved this way, the more he felt that they were sent by the Emperor. If they were from other forces, he would have to show off. Otherwise, he would not feel satisfied. He swung his sword continuously, but his speed had slowed down. He had no strength left and was completely powerless. He had no chance of winning against the protectors from the imperial house. Since the Emperor wanted to kill him, it would be futile for him to resist. How could he escape from the Emperor's palm? Ding! His sword suddenly flew out of his hand. Then, he swung his sword, trying to cut off his head. He tried his best to fall back and avoided the sword, but he could not avoid the other sword. The sword stabbed his chest. The tip of the sword came out of his back and was dyed red with blood. Ugh! Su Huanda moaned. He tried his best to widen his eyes and attacked with his palm. He wanted to die together with the man who hurt him. However, the masked man with the sword reacted quickly. When he saw Su Huanda's palm, he immediately dodged to the side to avoid the strong palm energy. Bang! Su Huanda's palm force created a large pit on the ground. His body was like a leaking balloon, his strength quickly leaking out from his wound. His entire body was limp and he could no longer exert any strength. You! Su Huanda clutched the knife in his chest and pointed at them. Can you tell me who you are now? No. The four masked men in black shook their heads. Su Huanda smiled bitterly. He didn't expect them to be so vigilant. Even in such a situation, they still didn't tell him and refused to let him know. All right. Su Huanda sighed. I didn't want to use this secret technique, but you guys forced me to. Suddenly, his body swelled up like an inflated balloon. His aura surged again, and the saber that was originally stuck in his chest shot out. Blood spurted out, but he quickly stopped the bleeding with a few moves. It was as if he had not been injured at all. His aura was astonishing, and his eyes were like lightning. With a wave of his hand, the sword nearby flew into his hand. He used the secret technique. He won't be able to hold on for long. The four masked men in black looked at each other. At this moment, the bright sunlight shone in the forest and on their bodies. Their black clothes were as black as ink, and their gleaming eyes were especially cold. The four masked men in black rushed up to attack Su Huanda. The saber gleams were more intense than before, but under Su Huanda's sword gleams, their saber gleams were overshadowed. Initially, they didn't want to use the secret technique because there would always be repercussions. However, it seemed like they had to use it now. Therefore, they performed the secret technique one after another. Their aura changed drastically, and the saber gleams became brighter, able to compete with the sword gleams. For a moment, the two parties were in a stalemate again. The saber gleams whistled and the sword gleams sizzled. Time passed unknowingly, and they were still in a stalemate. As time passed, all of them lost their strength. Their sword movements became slower and weaker, and their saber movements became limp. Ugh! One of the masked men in black was stabbed in the chest and fell down. The other three were enraged. They raised their spirits and attacked fiercely again. This time, Su Huanda had completely used up all his strength. He wanted to dodge, but he was powerless. Chi! A saber slashed his chest, and a long wound appeared on his chest. It looked like a baby's mouth, and blood gushed out instantly, drenching his clothes. Ah! Su Huanda roared angrily. He wanted to swing his sword again, but he was powerless. He could only lean against a tree and slowly slide down. His legs could no longer support his body weight, and he was sweating profusely. Hee! The three masked men in black finally let out a sigh of relief. White steam was rising from their bodies, and they had no strength left in their hands. The saber seemed to be as heavy as 1,000 pounds, and they couldn't lift it at all. It was difficult for them to even take a step forward. Their secret technique had reached its limit, and their bodies were extremely weak. It seemed like they couldn't even lift a finger. "Let's go, finish him off," one of the masked men in black said in a deep voice. The three of them surrounded Su Huanda, who was sitting on the ground. Su Huanda leaned against a tree and stared at them coldly. "At this point, you still don't want to tell us who's the mastermind? You can guess." One of the masked men in black shook his head. "We'll never tell you." "Humph," Su Huanda said coldly. "My ending will be your ending. Think about who I am." "Hee hee." The masked men in black laughed and continued to approach him. Su Huanda closed his eyes. "Just give me a quick death." "Don't worry, it'll be quick." One of the masked men in black mustered the last bit of strength he had left in his body, and swung his saber. He was about to cut off Su Huanda's head and complete this difficult mission. They had never expected that they would lose 3 people. Swoosh! A cold light suddenly appeared in the forest and struck the saber. Ding! A crisp sound was heard, and the saber was knocked away by the cold light. Thud! The saber was shot into a tree, and only the handle was left trembling. The saber was completely buried in the tree. "Who is it?" The 3 masked men in black were shocked and furious. They had no way of defending themselves now, and could only wait for death if they encountered an opponent. Chu Li appeared in front of Su Huanda and smiled. "Commander Su, you look so pathetic?" He went forward and stuffed a pill into Su Huanda's mouth, then sealed the wound on his chest with his fingers. He then took out a porcelain bottle and applied some ointment on the wound, and turned to look at the 3 masked men in black who were trying their best to retreat. Bam bam bam! Chu Li suddenly disappeared, and instantly circled around the 3 men. The 3 of them fell backward. Su Huanda hurriedly shouted, "Spare them." Chu Li had already returned to his original position, and smiled. "Don't worry, they won't die, they just fainted." "Phew!" Su Huanda let out a long sigh of relief. "Chu Li, why are you here?" "I was worried, so I came to take a look, and as expected, I ran into trouble." Chu Li shook his head. Su Huanda smiled bitterly. "You shouldn't have come, you shouldn't have gotten involved in this." Chapter 962. P.S. Update complete. What a sin. Su Huanda remained silent. He guessed that the 6 masked men were Imperial House protectors sent by the Emperor. Moreover, they vaguely felt familiar as if he knew them. He often entered the Imperial House and was familiar with many protectors. It was possible that he knew them. He did not expect these acquaintances to come to kill him. How sad! The sudden surge of thoughts made him feel sad and sorrowful. He didn't expect that his loyal and devoted self would end up like this. Everything was like a dream. Once the Emperor wanted to kill him, he would not have a chance to escape. He would die sooner or later. "You shouldn't have saved me." Su Huanda shook his head and sighed. "I can't escape." "It's really the Emperor?" Chu Li frowned. "It can't be. If he wanted you dead, why did he have to do it halfway? It's safer to do it in the Imperial Mausoleum. I'll contact more people and leak the news once I'm in the Imperial Mausoleum." Su Huanda scoffed. He was ready to risk everything. Since he was going to die sooner or later, there was nothing to worry about. Chu Li said, "It's better to clarify things. Let me ask them." He then removed the black masks of the 6 masked men one by one, revealing their faces. Su Huanda's expression changed. Chu Li smiled. "They're all acquaintances. Commander Su, you don't recognize them?" Su Huanda's face was so dark that it could drip water. He glared at them. Their acupuncture points were sealed, so they could only watch as their masks were removed. These people were secret guardians from the Secret Guardians Hall. He suddenly realized why they looked familiar. He did not expect them to be secret guardians, so he always thought they were Imperial House protectors. Chu Li said, "Tell me, who sent you here?" Could it be Commander Fu? Yes. One of the men in black nodded. Chu Li laughed. I know it's a lie. If it's not the commander, it must be the deputy commander. Deputy Commander Gu Yu? The three of them shut their mouths. Chu Li turned to look at Su Huanda. Su Huanda took a deep breath and sneered. Gu Yu. Chu Li said, Commander Gu is really resourceful. She's trying to get rid of me. She's afraid that you'll be reinstated, isn't she? Su Huanda slowly said, that might not be the case. He might have guessed the Emperor's thoughts, so he wants to please the Emperor. Without His Majesty's orders, would he dare to kill a deputy commander? Even if the Emperor doesn't want to kill me, if I'm killed by him, then so be it. After all, I'm an eyesore now. Not necessarily. Chu Li shook his head. So what if he's not? After all, he's dead and can't be resurrected. At most, Gu Yu will be reprimanded, but he won't lose the Emperor's favor. Where did this Gu Yu come from? Chu Li furrowed his brows. I only know that he is a descendant of a family of generals. His father died on the battlefield. How did he receive the Emperor's favor? Because his father died in battle to save the Emperor. Su Huanda shook his head and smiled bitterly. As long as Gu Yu doesn't rebel, the Emperor won't kill him. Died to save the Emperor. Chu Li furrowed his brows. This was troublesome. Su Huanda said, back when the Emperor was still an imperial crown prince, he went to the border to train and was ambushed. It was Gu Yu's father who single-handedly brought the Emperor away. In the end, he died in the hands of the enemy in order to stop the pursuers. Without Gu Yu's father's desperate rescue, the Emperor would have died in that ambush. This Gu Yu really can't be touched. He's comparable to a prince. Chu Li shook his head. Su Huanda said, what happened? Did you fight him? Chu Li told him what happened and finally shook his head. He wants to use me as a warning to others. I can't just wait for my death, so I can only block him. He realized that he had underestimated Gu Yu. Gu Yu's methods were more vicious than he thought. In order to protect his position, he killed people like it was child's play. He even dared to kill an important minister like Su Huanda. If he were to fight him head-on, the result would not be the same as Su Huanda and Fu Mengshan. It would only be a battle of words, and he might even get himself killed. Once again, he felt aggrieved. If he were to kill a person like Gu Yu, he would probably attract the Emperor's attention. He even had a strong urge to fight the Emperor since he had the life and death scripture. He wanted to see if he could die. However, when he thought of Shao Qi and Shao Shi, he slowly suppressed this urge. Although this would be satisfying, the consequences were serious. Even if he did not die, the existence of the life and death scripture would be exposed. He would become the target of public criticism. Not only the old monsters who were about to die, but even the enlightened masters would be interested in him. They would want to dig out the life and death scripture, and he would never have a day of peace again. He had no choice but to become an enlightened master as soon as possible. When that time came, he would not be afraid of anyone, be it the Emperor or the Tempest Temple. He would be free and unfettered, and his reincarnation would not be in vain. He took a deep breath. Since he could not kill Gu Yu, he could only use other methods to torture him and make him behave. You'd better not go against him. Su Huanda frowned. He's spoiled. He's been raised by the Emperor since he was young. He's even more pampered than the other princes. He has the Emperor's favor and is insufferably arrogant. He doesn't even care about the princes. He doesn't care about the princes? Chu Li laughed. Isn't he afraid that he'll settle the score later? Even if the princes become the Emperor, they won't dare to do anything to him. Su Huanda shook his head. For his father's sake, as long as he doesn't rebel, he won't be killed and can live in wealth. Chu Li smiled bitterly. He's really blessed. Su Huanda shook his head and sighed. It can't be helped. There's no point in being envious. Comparisons were odious. Guyu was born with wealth and was even more carefree than the princes. The princes had to work hard to fight for the position of crown prince, but Guyu did not have to do that. As long as he did not do anything stupid, he could live a carefree life. On the other hand, people like Su Huanda and Chu Li had to struggle and work hard to climb up bit by bit. It was not easy for Su Huanda to climb up to this position. One mistake and he would fall back down. On the other hand, Guyu did not have to do anything to replace him. Chu Li said, "I'll escort you to the Imperial Mausoleum. He won't dare to do anything once we get there." "Forget it." Su Huanda shook his head. "Don't worry about me," Chu Li said in a low voice. "Am I supposed to watch you get killed?" Su Huanda said, "If Guyu knows that you're involved, he'll do anything to kill you." Chu Li smiled. "I won't let him know. Don't I have a mask?" Su Huanda laughed. "I didn't expect that mask to come in handy now." Back then, he had given Chu Li a fog beast mask that could change his identity. Other than him and Fu Mengshan, no one else knew about this. Moreover, others might not be able to describe the appearance of the fog beast mask, so Fu Mengshan would not know about it. "Let's go. We need to move as soon as possible before anything bad happens," Chu Li said. He grabbed Su Huanda and dragged him by the sleeve as they glided away. As for the 6 people lying on the ground, they soon died without a sound. It was a warning to Guyu. These 6 people deserved to die since they did not hesitate to kill their old superior, Su Huanda. Chu Li had no pity for them. However, these 6 fellows were all grandmasters. Guyu, the newly appointed deputy commander, did not know how to explain to Fu Mengshan that they had died for no reason. However, Fu Mengshan did not dare to ask him to explain anything either. Guyu had always been this unscrupulous. Chu Li was extremely fast. After rushing for a day, he settled down in a small town in the evening. Chapter 963. P.S. The 34th Guild Master has been born, Guild Master Alpine Goat. He looked at Tianshu Courtyard and saw Xiao Shi and Xiao Qi playing chess. The place was as bright as day, and the 2 ladies' faces looked like 2 pieces of white jade under the light. They were so exquisite and beautiful that people could not take their eyes off them. Chu Li did not disturb them. He returned to Gale City in a flash and sat in his house to cultivate. He was thinking about how to obtain the White Tiger power. The sun cultivating White Tiger portrait was only the foundation of the White Tiger power. Only by cultivating the sun cultivating White Tiger portrait would one be able to cultivate the White Tiger power. The White Tiger power had not been able to display much of its power in the hands of the White Tiger sect. Although it was not as powerful as the Great Light Scripture, it was not that the White Tiger power was weak. It was just that the spiritual energy of the world was too weak, and it was no longer suitable to cultivate this set of technique. However, if he were to cultivate this technique on Spirit Crane's Peak and cross-reference it with the Crouching Bull insight, he would be able to become an enlightened master once he cultivated it to perfection. However, this path was easier said than done. It was countless times more difficult than becoming the number 1 youth expert. With his current cultivation level, he could suppress Fa Yuan, Lu Yurong, and the one from Feng Huang Mountain. If the Titanium Temple did not participate in the fight, there was still hope. However, the Tempest Temple had a deep foundation, so it was not impossible for them to increase Fa Yuan's power and suddenly become stronger than him. Green Deer Cliff's background was still unclear, and Lu Yurong could also increase her power at any time. It would not be easy to surpass them and obtain the first place, but it was still much easier than cultivating the Crouching Bull insight to perfection. It was a pity that he could only become a deity and not a deity. The will of the heavens was hard to go against, and there were too many restrictions placed on him. If he obtained this kind of heavenly deity, he might as well not become a heavenly deity. The only thing he could do now was to learn the White Tiger power first. Guards! He raised his voice and shouted. A young maid called Xiao Jia answered in a crisp voice, Yes, young master. Get Ko Chiong here. Yes. Not long after Xiao Jia left, Ko Chiong knocked on the door softly. Young master? Come in and talk, Chu Li said. Ko Chiong pushed open the door and approached Chu Li's bed. He gave a fist salute and bowed. Young master, what can I do for you? What's the situation in the Roaring Tiger clan now? Chu Li asked. Are there any disciples from the White Tiger sect around? Ever since you left, young master, the original White Tiger sect disciple of the Roaring Tiger clan has left. Another young disciple has arrived, Ko Chiong said. I heard that he's also a genius from the White Tiger sect. He's young, but his cultivation base is profound. Very good. Chu Li smiled. Where does he live? He has been in the Roaring Tiger clan, Ko Chiong said. Do you want to deal with him, young master? Chu Li shook his head. Don't provoke him for now. Get me a house near Roaring Tiger Hall, no more than 1 kilometer away. The closer, the better. In order to see through the thoughts of the other party, the distance was related to how much mental energy one had to expend. If one wanted to see through the thoughts of the other party from a distance, one would have to expend a great deal of mental energy. If one wanted to see through the thoughts of the other party from a close distance, the amount of mental energy needed to see through the thoughts of the other party would be negligible. Ko Chiong hurriedly nodded. I'll go prepare and capture him as soon as possible, young master. Go, keep this a secret, Chu Li said. Yes, I understand. Ko Chiong smiled. Chu Li waved his hand. I'm going over there to cultivate in isolation. We'll be able to resolve it tomorrow, Ko Chiong said. Chu Li nodded in satisfaction and waved his hand. Ko Chiong left. Although he did not understand why Chu Li wanted to get close to the Roaring Tiger clan's house and cultivate in isolation, he did not ask too much. He only needed to carry out his orders, and it would not be beneficial for him to ask too many questions. Chu Li was very satisfied with Ko Chiong and the other two. They were experienced and intelligent. They did not ask too many questions and could understand things easily. Chu Li did not need to waste his breath, and sometimes they were even more meticulous than he was. The next morning, when he woke up from his meditation, Ko Chiong had been waiting outside for a long time. When Chu Li called him in, he gave a fist salute and said with a smile, Young master, I've found a house. You didn't rob a house, did you? Chu Li asked. Of course not. Ko Chiong quickly said, We won't do such a thing. 1,000 taels of silver was enough to solve the problem. The family left happily and did not take anything with them. 1,000 taels of silver is enough for them to live a carefree life. All right. Chu Li nodded. I'll stay there tonight. I have something to do during the day. I'll get someone to tidy up the place during the day, Ko Chiong quickly said. Chu Li nodded. Be careful not to be discovered by the Roaring Tiger clan. Of course. Ko Chiong nodded and smiled. Would you like to have breakfast, young master? Bring it up, Chu Li said. Ko Chiong waved his hand. Xiao Jia, the beautiful maid outside, gave an order and a few maids brought in the breakfast. Each of these little girls had a graceful figure and a beautiful appearance. It was obvious that they had spent a lot of effort to carefully select them. Chu Li looked at them and shook his head with a smile. This was the beauty of power. Without power there would not be so many beautiful women. Even if one did not touch them, it was still a pleasure to look at them. A sumptuous breakfast was placed on the table, giving off a tempting aroma. Chu Li ate under their watchful eyes. After he was full, he left and soon disappeared from Gale City, appearing next to Su Huanda. Su Huanda's room was very spacious. There was a living room, a study, and a bedroom. Su Huanda was sitting on the bed and channeling to heal his injuries. Although he had spirit medicine, he still needed to work hard to fully recover from his injuries. Chu Li looked at him and knew that he had not eaten. He called the waiter who had been waiting at the staircase and quickly brought in breakfast. Su Wanda was tempted by the aroma and came down to eat. Chu Li picked up a book and read it. After breakfast, the two bought 2 horses and rode them out of town. They continued to go to the Imperial Mausoleum. After they were more than 10 miles away from town, Su Wanda suddenly took out a few folded letters and handed them to Chu Li. "Take a look at this." Chu Li took it and smiled. "Commander Su must have given me a treasure." Su Wanda smiled. "It's more precious than a treasure." Chu Li opened the letters and looked through them one by one. There were 10 of them in total. He looked up and was shocked. "This! I might not be able to return to Fairy's capital for the rest of my life. I was going to bring this name list with me to my coffin." Su Wanda said, "If you use these people well, they will unleash unimaginable power. I believe you can use them well." Chu Li looked serious and slowly nodded. "Thank you, Commander Su. I'm not a commander anymore." Su Wanda shook his head. "I might not be able to become a commander for the rest of my life. Why didn't you pass them to Commander Fu?" Chu Li rubbed his hands together, and the 10 white letters instantly turned into powder. They were blown away by the wind and disappeared without a trace. They had completely disappeared from this world. Su Wanda smiled when he saw him like this. He said in a low voice, "I don't trust him." Chu Li sighed. "I don't trust Commander Fu either." Fu Mengshan had no sense of friendship. He only cared about benefits. Once the benefits were big enough, he would not even blink if he sold himself. He and Su Wanda were polar opposites. Su Wanda was cold and warm-hearted, while Fu Mengshan was warm on the outside and cold on the inside. "Then, Commander Su, you trust me? You're trustworthy. They'll be safer under your command." Su Wanda smiled. Chapter 964. The 10 pieces of paper were Su Wanda's list of informants. They were independent of the secret guardian's hall. They only recognized Su Wanda and not the secret guardian's hall. Su Wanda took out another jade pendant from his inner pocket. This time, it was only half a piece, and he passed it to Chu Li. "This is a keepsake. They'll obey your orders as soon as they see this jade pendant. They're all hidden chess pieces, so you have to be cautious when using them." Chu Li took it and nodded slowly. These informants were not only in the Ji dynasty, but also in the Li dynasty, the Zheng dynasty, the Fu dynasty, and even the farthest Qiu dynasty. The identities of these people varied. Some were peddlers and servants, some were officials of the imperial court, some were martial arts masters, some were prostitutes, and some were even servants. Their identities were different, and the level of information they came into contact with was also different. However, their loyalty could withstand the test, and they could be of great use at critical times. Chu Li was secretly impressed. Compared to these chess pieces, he did not have enough of them. Moreover, they were not rich enough and were too singular. The information he received was also limited. He would have to learn from Su Wanda in this aspect. Later on, he discussed with Su Wanda how to arrange the chess pieces. He learned a lot from listening to them and was even tempted to try it out on Crouching Bull Mountain. The two talked as they galloped. The sound of the horses' hooves did not affect their conversation. "You must be careful of Gu Yu and Fu Mengshan," Su Wanda said in a low voice. "He's ruthless. If Gu Yu isn't around, he'll rely on you. However, if Gu Yu gives him any benefits or pressures or threatens him, I'm sure he'll turn against you with Gu Yu." "What should I do?" Chu Li asked. In terms of wisdom and meticulousness, he was better than Su Wanda. However, in terms of experience, he was far behind. Sometimes, experience was wisdom. "Go into isolated cultivation." Su Wanda shook his head. "He can't be provoked, so avoid him. After these 3 fires, Gu Yu will know that he can't do without you. He'll be well behaved. No matter how favored he is, deep down, he still wants to do something to shut his mouth." Chu Li nodded slowly. "All right, I'll go into isolated cultivation again." Since you're going into isolated cultivation, don't worry about May Air Courtyard. Su Wanda said, I don't think he'll give up. He'll poach May Air Courtyard's people or even suppress them. Your subordinates will have to be tested. I won't harm them, will I? Chu Li frowned. He had killed the secret guardians who tried to assassinate Su Wanda. If Gu Yu used the people from May Air Courtyard as well, he would be in danger. Su Wanda said, That'll depend on their wisdom to protect themselves. Chu Li smiled. Understood. Thank you, Commander Su. And His Majesty. Su Wanda hesitated. Chu Li replied, I know that the Emperor is heartless. This time, Gu Yu is here to test me. If I reveal even the slightest hint that I know about this, I'll be silenced. It's good that you understand this. Su Wanda smiled. You can't treat the Emperor as a human. He's a god, cold-blooded and heartless. Just how powerful are the enlightened masters? Chu Li asked. Commander Su has met the Emperor before, do you know? This is a big secret. Su Wanda said, but now that things have come to this, I don't have any scruples anymore. The enlightened master's world is his world, and it's a world of its own. He is the god of this world. Chu Li shook his head, indicating that he did not understand. Within a radius of 100 feet, divine powers are useless and inner energy can't be replenished. Grandmasters are no different from acquired masters. Su Wanda shook his head. No matter how powerful a grandmaster is, he can't withstand a single blow from an enlightened master. I see. Chu Li slowly nodded, his heart heavy. Don't even think about going against the Emperor. Su Wanda said, just like how you can't fight against fate. Chu Li slowly nodded. His desire to become an enlightened master grew stronger. Su Wanda said, but the Emperor won't kill you easily. As long as you don't kill the princes and imperial princes, the Emperor won't do it himself even if he wants to kill you. There's a chance. Chu Li said, this time, it's Gu Yu who wants to kill you, Commander Su. The Emperor didn't kill you, so there's a chance. It'll be fine once we reach the Imperial Mausoleum. Su Wanda said, Gu Yu can't reach the Imperial Mausoleum. Chu Li nodded. In the evening, Chu Li returned to his courtyard and asked Zhu Tianhua to take care of Yang Zongwen. A moment later, Yang Zongwen came over and bowed in front of him. Chu Li sat by the stone table in the courtyard and muttered, Is there any movement from Commander Gu? Nothing. Yang Zongwen shook his head. Something seems to be brewing. It feels like the calm before the storm. Chu Li said, Tell Commander Gu that I'm going into isolated cultivation again. Yes. Yang Zongwen quickly asked, Are you avoiding him? Just avoid him. Chu Li sighed. It's not worth it to fight because of personal feelings, but you guys can't be like me. Yang Zongwen looked troubled. Chu Li said, Tell the others to seek refuge with Gu Yu. Qin Jin and the others fought among themselves and got seriously injured. They have to go back and recuperate. Seek refuge with Gu Yu? Yang Zongwen's expression changed. Chu Li shook his head. This is the only way. Otherwise, you guys won't be able to resist him. Qin Jin and the others won't believe it even if they want to seek refuge with him. He won't believe it even if we seek refuge with him, Yang Zongwen said. Chu Li smiled. He'll accept you guys even if he doesn't believe it. He'll have achieved his goal by destroying our May Air Courtyard. However, if you guys have to leave Fairy's capital to do something, he'll let Qin Jin and the others deal with you. Qin Jin and the others are grandmasters and have contributed a lot. He can't do anything to them. Yes. Yang Zongwen hesitated. Chu Li said, As a centurion, I'm going into isolated cultivation at a crucial time. If I leave you guys behind, it'll be enough to make you angry and disappointed. Then, you'll seek refuge with him. Yang Zongwen quickly said, How is that possible? Chu Li smiled. It's highly possible. People will believe it if I tell them. I'm the first to be heartless, so I can't blame you guys for being unjust. Gu, you will also be skeptical. We'll talk about it when I come out of isolated cultivation. When will the centurion come out? That depends on luck. Chu Li smiled. I'll only come out when I encounter a case that I can't solve. Yang Zongwen smiled. Chu Li said, there's another piece of news. The Holy Church of Light is planning to assassinate King Ping. Visit Commander Fu personally and tell him about it. Keep it away from others and don't tell anyone else. Yes, Yang Zongwen replied. Chu Li waved his hand. Go. How you deal with Gu you will depend on your abilities. We'll deal with it. Yang Zongwen smiled. Don't worry, Centurion. If there's a problem, send someone over immediately. I'll save them, Chu Li said. Yes. Yang Zongwen fist saluted and left. Chu Li pondered. He wondered if Gu Yu would send someone to kill Su Huanda. If he did, would he send Qin Jin and the others? Chapter 965. Chu Li bid farewell to Shao Qi and Shao Shi at Tianshu courtyard and was about to leave. Shao Shi called out to him. What have you been busy with these 2 days? I haven't seen you around. Chu Li asked, Does Second Lady have any instructions for Consort Ping's case? Let's go over there to play. Shao Shi gave him a look. Chu Li looked at Shao Qi. Where's Lady? Shao Qi replied, It's good to go and take a look. Chu Li smiled. Alright, we'll go tonight. Shao Shi smiled. I've been eating other fruits for the past 2 days and I feel like they're tasteless. It's so troublesome. Don't forget that you can't leave for a few days at a time. Shao Qi said, Those fruits are very beneficial to my body. My skills have improved a lot. They have such a magical effect? Chu Li smiled. He had eaten those fruits before and found that they had little effect. Then, he remembered that it was Shao Qi's first time eating them and her body was far weaker than his. The fruits were very nourishing for her body, but since his body was so strong, the nourishment was dispensable. When night fell, he brought the 2 ladies to Spirit Crane's Peak and played for half the night. Then, he brought them back to the residence and went to Gale City. Not long after he returned, Ko Chiong appeared beside him. Young master, it's ready. You can move in any time. Chu Li nodded. Bring me there. Ko Chiong did not say anything else and brought Chu Li out of the residence. At night, Gale City was like a city that never sleeps. Although it was already past midnight, it was still brightly lit and there were many pedestrians outside. They passed through a few alleys and arrived at a simple courtyard. The surroundings were very quiet and there were only a few lanterns hanging in the alleys. The residents here were not wealthy, so it was not worth 1,000 taels of silver. Ko Chiong brought Chu Li into the slightly narrow residence and said embarrassedly, Young master, what do you think of this courtyard? Although it's a little small, it's quiet and no one will disturb us. Not bad. Chu Li nodded in satisfaction. In his mind, he had already seen the Roaring Tiger clan. It was only a street away, which was about 100 meters. It was a rare place for him to observe the thoughts of the people in the Roaring Tiger clan. Ko Chiong smiled. As long as you're satisfied, young master. All right, you can go. Don't wait for me, Chu Li said. I'll go back after I eat. Don't let anyone come here. Understood, Ko Chiong answered, cupped his fists and left. Chu Li walked around the residence with his hands behind his back. There were a total of 3 small courtyards, the front hall, the inner courtyard, and the backyard. Although they were not big, they were cleaned in an orderly manner, exuding a strong sense of life. Throughout the entire process, he had been keeping an eye on the Roaring Tiger clan that was 100 meters away. He saw a handsome and cold young man practicing martial arts in a small courtyard. Under the moonlight, he saw that the young man was practicing the white tiger killing skill. Its power was extraordinary, and it was only slightly inferior to that of the white tiger sex elder. His cultivation level was also slightly lower than the White Tiger sect elders, but it was already extremely rare for him to reach such a cultivation level at such a young age. He could even be considered a genius. How many levels of the White Tiger power did this genius possess? He began to activate his inner energy in the small courtyard, circulating it according to the mental cultivation method of the White Tiger killing skill. All of a sudden, a vague silhouette of a tiger appeared between his palms, and with a sudden jolt of his mind, it was as if he had been pulled into the silhouette of the tiger. With a push of his inner energy, the silhouette of the tiger shot out and moved according to his will. Wherever his mind went, the silhouette of the tiger would chase after it as if it was playing with his mind. It revealed a hint of playfulness, which surprised Chu Li greatly. He did not expect the White Tiger killing skill to be so mysterious. He did not activate it with his mind, but rather, he guided it with his mind. Chu Li's mind changed several times, and the silhouette of the tiger chased after him a few times as well. Just as it was about to disappear, it suddenly lost control like a drunkard and crashed into the rockery next to it. With a muffled bang, 2 rocks fell from the rockery. The White Tiger killing skill was quite powerful, and it was very effective when used against an unexpected enemy. Only those who knew the ins and outs of the White Tiger sect could have a chance of avoiding it. If they were to encounter it rashly, they would definitely be hit. He practiced the White Tiger killing skill a few more times before he finally nodded in satisfaction. He watched as the young man returned to his house. He drank some tea and calmed his breathing before he sat cross-legged on his bed and began to cultivate his inner energy. Chu Li immediately activated the omniscient mirror and looked into the young man's mind. A gigantic and majestic tiger appeared in his mind, its long fur fluttering like a flag dancing in the wind. The clouds followed the dragon, and the wind followed the tiger. The tiger's fur shook like the turbulent waves of the sea, emitting a powerful aura. Every rise and fall was frightening. The tiger began to make movements in his mind, and the inner energy in his body moved along with the movements. It seemed that the inner energy was coordinating with the tiger's momentum, making the tiger's pounce or tail scissor more powerful. Chu Li knew that this was the White Tiger power. The White Tiger power did not seem special on the surface. All he had to do was sit cross-legged and cultivate, but his mind was in turmoil. A ghastly aura was faintly discernible on his body, as if he himself had turned into a tiger and was about to make these movements. Chu Li imitated and replayed the movements in his mind, trying to remember every movement. The movements of the tiger were rather slow, so Chu Li slowly followed and practiced with it. Before he could practice 20 tiger movements, the young man's spirit was already exhausted. He slowly lay down and immediately fell asleep. Chu Li shook his head helplessly. This young man was too weak. He was already so tired from just a few movements. He muttered to himself thoughtfully. After a while, he suddenly got off the ground and left the courtyard. He followed the tiger's momentum in the young man's mind and began to assume the posture of a tiger. Then, he urged the heart technique and realized that he was right. This kind of cultivation was much better than meditating. He smiled. After repeating it a few times, a pure inner energy surged out. This speed was very shocking. Could it be that he had created it himself, and no one in the huge White Tiger sect had studied it for so many years? That shouldn't be the case. He quickly figured out the reason. It was not that others did not think of it, but it was useless even if they did. No one could multitask like him. He visualized in his mind, followed his movements, and urged his inner energy. This was completely different from the heart technique of martial arts. It was abnormally complicated, and he had to do 3 things at once. Moreover, he had to have a pure mind. He realized that this kind of cultivation was very fast, but in the end, he would still have to sit cross-legged and meditate. He had been cultivating the White Tiger power until dawn, and then he hurriedly took a nap. The next morning, he met up with Su Huanda again and continued on their journey. As for the young man in the Roaring Tiger clan, he was not in a hurry to finish his cultivation. He would probably stay in the Roaring Tiger clan. The rest of his journey with Su Huanda was smooth. 5 days later, Su Huanda's injuries recovered and they arrived at the Imperial Mausoleum. Chu Li did not appear at the Imperial Mausoleum. He bade farewell to Su Huanda from afar and promised to visit him again if he had the chance. Su Huanda arrived without a hitch, but Chu Li's cultivation was not so smooth. He realized that this young genius's level of the White Tiger power was very shallow. If he cultivated with him, he did not know how long it would take for him to completely master the White Tiger power. It seemed like he had to think of a way. In the evening, he returned to Gale City and went straight to Ko Cheong's house. Ko Cheong soon heard Xiao Jie's report and hurried over. Chapter 967. That's right. Gu Yu nodded and looked at Liang approvingly. You're the cleverest. Centurion Chen is up to no good by recommending Centurion Chu. Liang shook his head. He's indebted to Centurion Chu, but he views Centurion Chu as his enemy. This is a trap for Centurion Chu. Gu Yu said, I know they don't get along. That's why Centurion Chen's words can't be trusted. Liang said, in my opinion, the Mei Air Courtyard, where Centurion Chu is not around, is indeed not as elite as the Mei E Courtyard. We still have to put pressure on the Mei E Courtyard for this case. They are still very powerful. Alright, tell Chen Donghai to catch the murderer within 3 days or he'll be held accountable. Gu Yu said. Liang gave a fist salute. Yes. Gu Yu looked up at Yang Zongwen. Yang, what do you have to say? I disagree? I agree with you. Yang Zongwen shook his head. Centurion Chen is up to no good by recommending Centurion Chu, but it's also the truth. We all know Centurion Chen. He's a dog and is very protective of his food. If he can solve the case, he'll do anything to get it instead of pushing it away. They're not confident and it's useless to force them. Gu Yu asked, does that mean Chu Li is the only one who can solve this case? Yang Zongwen nodded slowly. I know Centurion Chu's ability best. No one can solve this case. Only Centurion Chu has a glimmer of hope. There's no need to waste Centurion Chen's time. We should invite Centurion Chu back. The problem now is that we can't invite Centurion Chu back. Liang scoffed. Yang Zongwen said, I think Centurion Chu has no choice but to meet Commander Gu. I'm here? Gu Yu scoffed and shook his head. How dare he? Yang Zongwen hurriedly said, Commander Gu, this isn't the time to talk about face. We might have face in front of Centurion Chu, but we'll lose face in front of His Majesty. I'd rather be humiliated in front of His Majesty than be humiliated in front of Chu Li. Gu Yu said coldly. Yang Zongwen sighed and shook his head. Liang said, this Centurion Chu is really too much. He's forcing Commander Gu to lower her head. Yang Zongwen sighed and said, Centurion Chu is proud and arrogant. There's nothing we can do about it. He's in closed-door training right now. What can we do to him? Humph, Gu Yu sneered. I'll personally meet the Emperor and ask him to take charge of this case. Let's see if he'll obey the order. Liang hurriedly said, isn't this a big deal? I'm not afraid of blowing things up. I don't believe I can't suppress him. Gu Yu scoffed. Since you said that Chen Donghai can't solve this case, then don't let him. I'm going to the palace now. With that, he turned around and strode away. Liang glanced at Yang Zongwen. Yang Zongwen shook his head helplessly. Now that things had developed to this point, it was out of his control. It was beyond his imagination. He did not expect Gu Yu to be so capricious. He did not care that the Emperor would look down on him. Even a prince would not dare to be so careless. The Emperor was busy every day, so how could he have the time to care about such a small matter? If he begged the emperor like this, the emperor would certainly look down on him. He could not suppress a subordinate and was incompetent. However, it would also let the emperor know that the centurion was unruly. It was not a good thing. It was a lose-lose situation. Guyu acted quickly. The imperial house did things swiftly and decisively. 2 hours later, 2 imperial house protectors dressed in black arrived outside the imperial residence of King An and shouted, "The emperor has issued an order. Chief Chu Li of King An's imperial residence, please receive the order." His voice was like a bell that resounded throughout the entire imperial residence. Everyone could hear it clearly. The gates of King An's imperial residence opened quickly. More than 10 gorgeously dressed maids came out first. Several scribes quickly laid out a white carpet. "The princess is here," one of the scribes shouted. Xiao Shi was dressed in white, revealing her beautiful face. She calmly walked out of the imperial residence with a graceful bearing. Xuaningyu and Song Luiying followed behind her. They were dignified and beautiful. The 3 women stepped on the white carpet and stood at the bottom of the stairs of the imperial residence. They curtsied to the 2 imperial house protectors and stood there quietly. Xiao Shi's beautiful face looked like it was carved out of white jade. It was crystal clear and warm, radiating brilliance. Xuaningyu and Song Luiying were graceful and elegant. "Where is Chu Li?" one of the imperial house protectors shouted. He was a burly middle-aged man. His face was solemn. When he saw that Chu Li did not appear, he frowned and said, "Is he going to defy the order?" "Sir, Chief Chu is not in the imperial residence." "He can't receive the order," Xiao Shi said lightly. "He's not in the imperial residence?" The other imperial house protector said, "Princess Xiao, you can't lie in front of the order. It's a crime that will result in the annihilation of your entire family." He was a skinny old man. He wore a black robe that had been washed so many times that it had turned white. He looked like he was living a poor life. However, the imperial house protectors never had to worry about money. It could only be that he was a simple person. Xiao Shi said, "If he's not here, then he's not here. What's there to lie about? Moreover, it's an honor to have the order. If he's here, how can we miss it?" "He's really not here?" the old imperial house protector asked. Xiao Shi furrowed her brows and looked at him impatiently. "Are you guys done yet? How about this, you guys send a team over and surround the imperial residence. Search every corner. If you find him, then capture him." "Hee, Princess Xiao, of course we won't do that." The old imperial house protector laughed. The middle-aged imperial house protector said, "Princess Xiao, are you giving us a hard time?" "So what if I'm giving you a hard time?" Xiao Shi said angrily. "So what if I'm giving you a hard time? Censure? Sincerity? Si Hui Zhong? Si Hang? Hui Zhong? Hui Zhong? Alright, we'll read it. It's the same if the princess passes it on." The old imperial house protector smiled. He was old and had a mild temper. He knew Xiao Shi's temper and nature very well. She was not afraid of anything and was not inferior to men. More importantly, she had a strong foundation. As a lady of the House of High Dukes, no matter how much trouble she caused, the emperor would not blame her. Xiao Shi said angrily, "I can't even see him. How am I supposed to pass it on? Is Chief Chu not coming back?" He went out to find a place to isolate himself. He said he wanted to stay away from the mundane affairs. Xiao Shi said, "It's to avoid the trivial matters of the imperial house. How can we find him?" The 2 of them were hesitant. The middle-aged imperial house protector's face was pale. He had never seen someone so arrogant. She did not give them any face and even rejected them impatiently. It was despicable. But there was nothing he could do about it. The old imperial house protector smiled. "No matter what, since we're here, we can't just go back without reading it. Let's do it first." "Whatever you want," Xiao Shi said impatiently. "If you want to read it, then hurry up." All right. The old Imperial House Protector opened the bright yellow Imperial Edict in his hand and said loudly, "The edict is to order the Secret Guardians Hall Centurion Chu Li to immediately start investigating the case of the Feng family's annihilation. The murderer must be apprehended within 10 days without delay." Chapter 968. P.S. Update complete. Xiao Shi waved her hand and said, "I don't dare to accept it. I don't know when he'll return within 10 days. It's better to take it back and let the Emperor decide." "Princess Xiao, I don't think that's appropriate," the elderly Imperial House Guard said in a deep voice. Xiao Shi rolled her eyes at him. "Then I'll just accept the Imperial Edict? We still don't know where Chu Li is." Sigh. The old Imperial House Guard shook his head helplessly. "Going against the Emperor will not end well." Xiao Shi's face darkened, and she said coldly, "So what you're saying is that Chu Li is in the public house, purposely avoiding the Imperial decree, is that right?" "Well, of course not." The old Imperial House Guard shook his head. "He's not that treacherous. Since you know it's treacherous, you still dare to say such things." Xiao Shi's jade-like face tensed up and she sneered, "What are your intentions?" "Sister Xiao, forget it," Song Luiying said softly. "This protector only made a slip of the tongue." Yes, Princess Song is right." The old guard of the Imperial House quickly nodded. Xiao Shi rolled her eyes at Song Luiying and scoffed, "Sister Song, you're such a good person. Did he make a mistake? I think he has sinister intentions. When he returns to the Forbidden Palace, he will definitely slander him in front of His Majesty. I want to personally go to the Imperial Palace and ask His Majesty what he wants." The old guard's expression changed slightly. He quickly smiled and said, "There's no need for Princess Xiao to make such a big fuss. I meant well by what I said." "Good intentions?" Xiao Shi said coldly. "How dare you say something like that? Aren't you ashamed?" The old Imperial House Guard was in a sorry state. He smiled bitterly and said, "I really don't have any ill intentions. Please don't take it to heart, Princess Xiao." The middle-aged guard of the Imperial House felt extremely aggrieved, and he wanted nothing more than to yell at her. How could such a beautiful woman be so overbearing? It was truly uncomfortable to look at her. Xiao Shi said, "Fine, I'll spare you this time. If there's a next time, don't blame me for being merciless." Yes. The old Imperial House Guard nodded helplessly. He quickly cupped his fists and bade farewell, holding the Imperial Edict in his hand. Both of them left the Imperial residence of King and walked along the main road towards the Imperial House. He turned around and saw Xiao Shi and the others entering the residence. The middle-aged Imperial House Protector could not help but scoff. "Elder Lu, is there a need to give in to this Princess Xiao? She's so domineering, it's unheard of." Sigh. "This is our ancestor. We can't afford to offend him." The old guard shook his head helplessly. "She's just a princess. So what if she's the lady of the High Duke's public house?" The middle-aged Imperial House Protector scoffed. The old guard glanced at him and said helplessly, "Little G, you might not know this, but Princess Xiao has a good relationship with the Empress. The Empress is very pleased with her and will grant any request she has. Once Princess Xiao enters the palace and badmouths me to the Empress, the Emperor might just transfer me out of the Imperial Palace with just a whisper from the Empress. Don't you think I'm someone we can't afford to offend?" "Is she that close to the Empress?" "The Empress was the one who arranged the marriage back then. She wanted King An to marry her," the old Imperial House Protector said. "Even if it was the Empress who arranged the marriage, there's no need to dote on her so much, right?" The middle-aged Imperial House Protector was puzzled. The old Imperial House Protector sighed. "Princess Xiao is also an outstanding woman. Back then, she took the initiative to marry King An in order to support the High Duke's public house. Otherwise, she could have lived freely in the High Duke's public house. She didn't have to leave the public house to come to Fairy's capital and marry a man who's 20 years older than her. I see. The middle-aged Imperial House Protector nodded slowly. His expression softened a little. It was not easy for her to do this, and she was worthy of respect. The Emperor respects her character and likes her very much. In the Emperor's eyes, no one can compare to her. The old Imperial House Protector shook his head. We can't either. Moreover, they're a family while we're outsiders. Gu Yu returned to the secret guardian's hall with a gloomy face. When he arrived at the main hall, Liang and Yang Zhongwen were there. When they saw him, they quickly stood up to welcome him. Liang asked, Commander Gu, did the Emperor really issue a decree? Gu Yu sneered. This Chu Li is really arrogant. He doesn't even give the Emperor any face. Did he disobey the imperial decree? Yang Zhongwen was shocked. That can't be right. Centurion Chu wouldn't be so unwise. It was one thing to go against Gu Yu, but to go against the Emperor was suicidal. If the Emperor hated him, there was no way he could survive. He didn't disobey the imperial decree, but it's not far from it. Gu Yu sneered. Since he refused to meet the imperial decree and refused to meet it, the Emperor won't be happy. He'll definitely find a chance to deal with him. Commander Gu, could it be that Centurion Chu isn't here? Liang frowned. In my opinion, Centurion Chu is still very reliable. He wouldn't do something like this. That's good. Gu Yu smiled. Yang Zhongwen and? When Liang saw him like this, he immediately understood what he was planning. The key was not whether Centurion Chu was here or not. It was that the Emperor's impression of Centurion Chu had been ruined. He must be angry and would find a chance to deal with Centurion Chu. Such a method was indeed vicious. He directly used the Emperor to deal with Centurion Chu. When they thought of this, the two felt a chill. No matter how powerful a person was, they were as insignificant as an ant in the face of the Emperor. There was no way they could survive after offending the Emperor. This move was too ruthless. Commander Gu, if that's the case, it's impossible to solve it, Liang said. Gu Yu sneered. I don't believe that the secret guardian's hall can't solve a case without Chu Li. Liang smiled bitterly. It's not a problem if it's any other case, but this case has too few clues. I'm afraid it can't be solved. In the past, cases like this were always left unsolved. Let Chen Donghai investigate, Gu Yu said coldly. Give him 3 days to catch the murderer. Yes. The two responded helplessly. They knew that Gu Yu was determined to fight for justice. It all depended on Chen Donghai's luck. If he really solved the case, he would definitely be rewarded handsomely. When the imperial decree was read, Chu Li was not in King An's imperial residence. He was in Gale City. He returned to a residence not far from the Radiance clan and said to Xiao Jie, Ask Ko Qiong to come see me. Yes. Xiao Jie responded hesitantly. Chu Li frowned and looked at her. What happened? Xiao Jie whispered. The clan leader and the others are injured. Chu Li glanced around. Through the omniscient mirror, he saw Ko Qiong and the others lying in a gazebo in the backyard. He disappeared in a flash and appeared in front of the 3 people in the backyard. Ko Qiong, Lu Shu, and Feng Wuji were pale. They were lying on a low couch each, basking in the bright sun. The backyard was extremely quiet. They soon realized that the sunlight was blocked. When they opened their eyes, they saw Chu Li. Young master. The 3 of them smiled bitterly. Chu Li scoffed. Were you beaten up? Ko Qiong looked embarrassed. Young master, we messed up. Not only did we not beat them up, we were also beaten up. Did that kid do it? Chu Li asked coldly. Ko Qiong nodded. I didn't expect that kid to be a wolf in sheep's clothing. We thought he was a sheep, but he suddenly turned into a wolf and beat us up. Fortunately, he didn't dare to kill us, young master. Is he that strong? Chu Li frowned. Ko Qiong said. He seemed to be waiting for us to make a move, so he used his secret skill first. We didn't have time to react and he finished us off in a few moves. Chapter 969. Chuli bent down and checked their pulses. They won't die. He took out a shiny white porcelain bottle. One for each of you. This was the healing medicine he brought back from the Great Light Peak. It was more powerful than normal medicine. He thought he would not need it, but he still needed it. Ko Cheong took the white porcelain bottle with both hands and smiled. Thank you, young master. You were hit by the white tiger killing skill. You've underestimated him. Chuli muttered. He fought against 3 of you and still defeated you? As he spoke, he retrieved the images from Ko Cheong and the others' minds. He scoffed and shook his head. Rest well. Young master, we've embarrassed ourselves, Ko Cheong said helplessly. I didn't expect his white tiger killing skill to surpass his cultivation level. He's almost the same as you, young master. We still have to be careful of him. Zhao Dai's cultivation level was lower than theirs and he was one of the few in Gale City. However, he had cultivated the light blade to its peak and was invincible in Gale City. Under such circumstances, he was most afraid of the Tian Luo sect. The Tian Luo sect's musical assassination technique was a battle of inner energy. No matter how powerful Zhao Dai's light blade was, he could only endure the musical assassination technique's attack. Soon, he would die from the musical assassination technique. However, Tian Luo sect had a good relationship with Zhao Dai and did not attack him. Therefore, no one in Gale City could stop him. Many people thought that Tian Luo sect was afraid of the Holy Church of Light. Chuli chatted with them for a while before returning to the small residence near the Roaring Tiger clan. He sat on the couch and observed Zheng Tianhe, the White Tiger sect disciple in the Roaring Tiger clan. Zheng Tianhe sat by the stone table in his courtyard and squinted as he basked in the sun. He closed his eyes and smirked. He looked lazy and proud. Chuli observed the situation in his mind and compared it with Ko Cheong and the others so he could simulate what happened that night. The moon was bright and the stars were sparse. Zheng Tianhe walked slowly in an alley. He had just returned from 9-Star Tower and was ready to take a shortcut to return to the Roaring Tiger clan. In 9-Star Tower, he felt slightly tipsy after drinking a pot of wine. This kind of feeling intoxicated him, and he couldn't bear to use his energy to expel it. He was immersed in this wonderful feeling. He stepped on the bluestone path silently, feeling the cool breeze and the bright moon. It was pleasant and wonderful. Compared to his arduous cultivation on the mountain, Gale City was much more beautiful, and he was addicted to it. He would not hesitate to eliminate anyone who dared to ruin his life, especially Zhao Dai. He sneered. Zhao Dai was a genius, but so was he. Even if Zhao Dai killed the elders of the sect, he would not be able to kill him. Unfortunately, Zhao Dai had returned to the Great Light Peak and was not here. Hence, Chuli could not have a good fight with him and had no chance to kill him. Without Zhao Dai, he would be the king of Gale City and no one would be able to threaten him. All of a sudden, a sense of foreboding rose in his heart, and the tipsy feeling disappeared all of a sudden. The inner energy in his body surged, and he activated the White Tiger killing skill with all his might. He was extremely talented in cultivating the White Tiger killing skill, and it was far better than the White Tiger power. Ko Cheong and the other 2 rushed out of the darkness. Roar! 3 tiger roars sounded almost at the same time, facing the 3 people. Ko Cheong and the other 2 were slightly flustered. They did not expect their sneak attack to turn into a sneak attack. Initially, they had looked down on Zheng Tianhe as his cultivation level was just average and could not compare to any of them. However, to play it safe and not mess up their young master's orders, the 3 of them attacked at the same time. It was like a lion fighting a rabbit with all its might, so they could not help but look down on him. They did not expect that the rabbit would strike first when they wanted to attack the rabbit. They were flustered and barely managed to dodge the white tiger killing skill. Before they could catch their breath and counterattack, another 3 tiger silhouettes entangled the 3 of them. This time, they were even more flustered. Their solid cultivation level allowed them to dodge the tiger silhouettes at the last moment, even though they were in a sorry state. However, the 3 tiger silhouettes appeared again, and this time they were hit. Zheng Tianhe did not let them off easily. Another 3 tiger silhouettes appeared and hit them squarely. They lay on the ground and could not get up. Once the white tiger killing skill was hit, its power was shocking and it caused severe damage to one's body. Zheng Tianhe, we're from the Radiance clan. How dare you kill us? Lu Shu sat at the foot of the wall and raised his head to shout. Be careful, our young master will settle the score with you. Humph, the Radiance clan. Zheng Tianhe looked down at the 3 of them and sneered. I didn't cause any trouble for the Radiance clan, but the Radiance clan came to me first. Very well. He released another 3 tiger silhouettes. Bang bang bang. Ko Qiong and the other 2 flew up from the ground and crashed heavily into the stone wall of the alley. The blood they spat fell on the wall, but it was only visible under the moonlight. Bang bang bang. The 3 of them landed on the ground. Their bodies spasmed and they were already exhaling more than they were inhaling. Zheng Tianhe looked at the 3 of them condescendingly and sneered. Zhao Dai killed the elders of the White Tiger sect, so I'll kill the people of the Radiance clan. Let's see if he has the ability to kill me. Ko Qiong and the other 2 were annoyed and angry as they glared at him. They could not believe that they did not manage to figure out this fellow's background. He had delivered himself to their doorstep, but he had been pecked in the eye by the eagle. Zheng Tianhe looked at them indifferently. Will the Radiance clan disband without you guys? But don't worry, I'll make it disappear even if it doesn't. Haha, when Zhao Dai returns and sees the Radiance clan disappearing, he'll be able to feel our pain. He'll definitely come looking for me, right? You're no match for our young master. Ko Qiong wiped the blood from his mouth and said reluctantly. Zheng Tianhe said indifferently, Why did I come here? To kill him. Do you really think that Zhao Dai can suppress the White Tiger sect? It's just that he hasn't sent an expert yet. What a joke. You. Ko Qiong gritted his teeth. How arrogant. You want to kill our young master with your abilities? Dream on. Oh, you can think whatever you want. You'll be dead anyway. It's a pity that you won't be able to see it. Zheng Tianhe shook his head calmly and put his palms together. 3 tiger silhouettes appeared again and attacked Ko Qiong and the other 2. Bang bang bang. They flew up again and crashed heavily against the wall. Then, they slid down limply and passed out. Zheng Tianhe smiled faintly and turned to leave. He was very confident in his white tiger killing skill. They would not survive this attack. Someone would find their corpses the next morning. By then, they would be stiff and only a grand, overarching heavenly immortal would be able to save them. He shook his head and slowly walked past the 3 of them. Then, he left the alley step by step. The alley quickly returned to silence as if nothing had happened. After a long while, Ko Qiong opened his eyes and took out a jade bottle from his robe with trembling hands. He poured out a pill and put it into his mouth. It took him about 10 minutes to drink a cup of tea before the pill reached his mouth. He was so exhausted that he almost collapsed to the ground, unable to move a muscle. After taking a breath, he took out the jade bottles from Lu Shu's and Feng Wuji's chests, took out the spirit blessing pills, and stuffed them into their mouth. Then, he lay down on the ground, panting like a fish that had jumped onto the shore. His life was finally saved. Chu Li sat in the small courtyard and pondered. He had long known that Zheng Tianhe had the intention to kill him. However, apart from Yang Ying, none of the White Tiger sect disciples did not want to kill him. Zheng Tianhe was no exception, so it was not strange. Chapter 970. Jing Tianhe squinted his eyes as he sat on the stone table lazily like a cat. The sun was so bright that it almost melted him. After a while, there was a knock on the door. "Come in," Jing Tianhe said lazily. A middle-aged man opened the small courtyard door and approached. He bowed and greeted, "Clan leader." The middle-aged man was dressed in green. He was handsome and had a free and easy temperament. However, he remained humble in front of Jing Tianhe. He bowed slightly and looked at Jing Tianhe with a smile. He quietly waited for Jing Tianhe to ask questions without disturbing him. He was the deputy clan leader of the Roaring Tiger clan, Hu Ye. The clan leader of the Roaring Tiger clan was an official disciple of the White Tiger sect. It was just a title. The management depended on each person's preference, but all the trivial matters were handled by the deputy clan leader, Hu Ye. He was awe-inspiring in front of the disciples of Roaring Tiger Hall, but he was as humble as a servant in front of Jing Tianhe. He never disobeyed Jing Tianhe and obeyed all of Jing Tianhe's orders. He was truly a vice hall leader. After a while, Jing Tianhe asked lazily, "Is there any news?" "No, clan leader." Hu Ye shook his head. "The Radiance clan is very quiet. No news of their deaths." Jing Tianhe frowned. "No," Hu Ye replied. Jing Tianhe scoffed. "Could it be that they've come back to life? Go and investigate again. Send someone to the Radiance clan too. I want to see if they're dead or not." "Yes," Hu Ye said. "I'll personally bring some people over to cause trouble. They're weak and not worth mentioning." Go." Jing Tianhe said faintly. "I'm too lazy to deal with a few repulsive people. You might as well just destroy the Radiance clan." "This," Hu Ye pondered and said hesitantly, "Clan leader, what's wrong?" Jing Tianhe opened his eyes and looked at him. Hu Ye had never disobeyed him. This change made Jing Tianhe very uncomfortable. Hu Ye bit the bullet and said helplessly, "Shouldn't you think about it carefully? Killing the three of them is different from destroying the Radiance clan." "What are you afraid of?" Jing Tianhe said faintly. "Are you afraid of the Radiance clan's revenge?" "I'm not afraid of the Radiance clan. I'm afraid of the Holy Church of Light." Hu Ye said in a low voice, "If something happens to the Radiance clan this time, the Holy Church of Light will definitely go crazy. I'm afraid that our Roaring Tiger clan won't be able to survive. If the Holy Church of Light wanted to take revenge, the Roaring Tiger clan would be the first to bear the brunt. If they went all out, the Roaring Tiger clan would be destroyed overnight. By the time the White Tiger sect reacted and retaliated, the Roaring Tiger clan had already been annihilated. His subordinates and even himself were already dead and could not be resurrected. I'll bear all the consequences. Just do as I say." Jing Tianhe's face darkened as he stared at him coldly. Seeing his expression, Hu Ye knew that if he continued to resist, he would probably fight. A wise man knows better than to fight when the odds are against him. He quickly said, "Yes, yes. Since Hall Master has thought it through, I will do as you say. I will go through fire and water without hesitation." "Very good, go ahead." Jing Tianhe waved his hand, squinted his eyes and began to bask in the sun. As the deputy hall master, Hu Ye could command his subordinates like an extension of his arm. Soon, he brought 30 masters to the Radiance clan. The Radiance clan currently only had 10 disciples. Firstly, the standards of the Radiance clan's disciples were high. They only accepted those who were above the perfected innate stage. Secondly, the other 3 sects were poaching them, making it extremely difficult for them to recruit disciples. However, with the Holy Church of Light's reputation, there were disciples who resisted the temptation and joined the Radiance clan. They now had 2 Grandmasters and 8 perfected innate stage masters. They should not be underestimated. Hu Ye brought 30 masters with him to ensure that nothing went wrong and completely destroy the Radiance clan. He was slightly worried. There were many people guarding the clan but few masters. Fortunately, they had no opponents other than the Radiance clan. They had a tacit understanding with the other two sections. Even if they fought, they would only fight on a small scale. In order to unite the disciples' morale, they would not slack off. Huya was certain that he could destroy the Radiance clan with these masters and launch a surprise attack. Since he could not disobey the Hall Master's orders, he had to be thorough and not be half-hearted. Otherwise, he would not be able to destroy the Radiance clan. Not only would he suffer losses from the Hall Master, but the Hall Master would also think that he was not doing his best because of his opposition. He would also offend the Radiance clan. It would be ridiculous if he could not get along with both sides. They were imposing. When they arrived at the Radiance clan, they found that the Radiance clan was empty. There was no one there. It seemed that everyone in the Radiance clan had withdrawn and abandoned this place. Otherwise, even if something happened outside and all the Radiance clan's disciples were mobilized, they would still leave 1 or 2 people to guard the door. Hall Master Hu, why don't we plunder this place? A disciple from the Roaring Tiger clan asked with a smile. The people had left, but the items were still there. They could search carefully and find the place where the Radiance clan hid their treasures. It was not a wasted trip. All right, plunder it. Huya gritted his teeth. Since he had offended them, he would offend them to the end. From today onwards, the Roaring Tiger clan and the Radiance clan would fight and become real enemies. Yes. The masters were elated. They could plunder things effortlessly and did not have to hand over the items to the Roaring Tiger clan. This was a rare opportunity. They spread out in all directions and were about to plunder the house when a loud noise suddenly exploded in the sky. A fierce tiger pattern flashed in the sky. Under the clear sunlight, this black pattern was particularly eye-catching. It was like a thick black cloud floating in the sky. Everyone could see it. This is bad. Let's return to the clan quickly. Huya's expression changed. The others also felt that something was wrong. Most of the masters in the clan had come over. There were only 2 masters among the 100 or so people left in the clan. There were not even any grandmasters. If the people from the Radiance clan had gone to the clan, they could imagine the situation. Jing Tianhe looked at Zhao Dave, who was standing in the courtyard with a gloomy expression. In this courtyard, he could see the signal in the sky and hear the screams and curses coming from the Roaring Tiger clan. He could imagine that the Roaring Tiger clan's disciples were being defeated. He stared at Chu Li gloomily. Who are you? Alarm bells rang in his mind. The person in front of him was a top-notch master. His instincts told him to escape, but he forced himself to suppress it. The other party had already come to their door. There was no room for retreat. He could only fight to the death. You don't know who I am? Chu Li looked at him indifferently and looked down at him. Aren't you here to kill me? Don't you have a portrait of me in the White Tiger sect? Zhao Dai. Jing Tianhe suddenly realized and asked coldly, What's going on outside? You want to destroy the Radiance clan. Why should the Radiance clan be so polite? Chu Li said coldly, I'd like to see whether you'll destroy my Radiance clan or the Radiance clan will destroy your Roaring Tiger clan. Jing Tianhe sneered. You're just 10 masters. You want to destroy the Roaring Tiger clan? What a joke. You won't know if you don't try. Chu Li said calmly. Your White Tiger killing skill is superb. You can try. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.